I don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, that's a normal thing, I guess. But like, okay, someone in the chat just typed in steak with a glass of water poured over it. And what the fuck is wrong? What, is that a
sloppy steaks, buddy?
Sloppy
steaks.
Yo, give me some sloppy steaks.
That's not a thing.
They won't.
You're gonna make
They won't let you.
sloppy.
I used to be an asshole. I used to be a piece of work.
Sloppy steaks? Yeah. Oh, I used to be
what
a piece
the fuck
of
is
shit.
a sloppy steak? What the fuck is wrong with steaks that like you need to like?
Dude,
what does that do to the steak?
Pour a glass of water over it.
No, okay. Why? What does that do?
Tap water on that.
Like
Make some
while
sloppy.
it's cooking?
Nope. After you get it,
So it dries, or no? You just got a wet steak.
No.
Like, oh, my steak's not wet enough, so you're wetting the steak.
Yeah.
It's about sloppy steaks, okay? It's all about those sloppy steaks.
Is this real? It's not. Is this something from a fucking TV show? Is Ted Lasso out there doing sloppy steaks? Is the fucking someone tricking? Like, this is not fucking actually real, right?
Is real, baby.
It's not a Ted Lasso thing. It's not a Ted Lasso thing.
What?
It is from a show called I Think You Should Leave.
Okay. Okay. That was my second guess. Was that it was from that? Okay.
Your first guess is Ted Lasso, and then you pivot
That's the first thing that came to mind. I knew Ted Lasso would not be the right answer, but funny.
It's always the right answer. That show's always the right answer for whatever ails you.
All right, God damn it. Okay, because like people are such very.
You would like it.
People would do that. People would do that with. No, I know. Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's like I should watch this, but I just haven't.
It's your shit.
So.
It's your shit.
Good. Okay. I feel better now because like in the world of steak, people are such dicks about stuff that it just doesn't. Like that scans as a totally possible thing. That scans as a very believable thing. You're like, oh yeah, of course people are doing that. Yeah.
I bet it is somewhere.
About it. Butter on a steak.
Well, like hot pot, right? That's like thin slices of steak in soup.
Yeah,
that's kind of a sloppy steak.
That's a soup. I mean, that's like a thing. That's a soup.
Yeah, but the butter, like you have steak at any restaurant. Let me tell you how much butter is being used to cook that steak. Like,
too much.
Way more than you would be comfortable with, for sure. Okay. But they got to start making them sloppy. That's all I really need is a nice.
Could you make a
steak?
Could you make a sloppy Joe, but like use a steak, like just a really fancy, expensive sloppy Joe?
You talking about the water on the sloppy Joe too? Is that like a sloppy Joe steak?
Not just sure. Add the water too. I mean, you're
all over the. I mean, you could cut up a steak however you want and do that. Like that to me seems like. That's in line with people who get like really fancy alcohol and then use it to make mixed drinks. People like myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's chaos wielders.
Yeah. Or you're supposed to just be sipping this with just ice, if that. And I was like, I don't give a shit.
You have an alcohol crime you'd like to report, to self-report? Is there something that you would like to talk about? Did you break some sort of weird alcohol crime law?
Is it probably?
Yes, yes, exactly. I didn't drink the Truly straight, and people were like, "How dare you, sir?" No, no, I went away for the weekend, and found myself at it's like I guess it was like a resort type place. We took our daughter and left her with grandparents for the first time ever, which was like terrifying.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Which was just terrifying, but also like the first time we've ever done it, and she's now 2, so it's been like that the past couple of years. And then just found ourselves with like wandering time, and ended up going into this convenience store that had, oh my god, is this the fanciest IPAs? Just so many
choice paralysis.
So many very nice beers that people would love to like drink and discuss. And so I got myself a nice Smirnoff Ice Smash in screwdriver flavor.
Great vintage.
Yeah. And it's
screwdriver flavor.
It's screwdriver flavor. Yeah. It's not actually I don't think it's actually vodka or orange juice in any part of that can.
Artificially flavored screwdriver. Holy shit.
But so I got one of those, and it had the desired effect of like me taking a picture, putting it up on Twitter in front of all of the IPAs of like people going like, "Oh, why'd you get it? There was one right. This thing was right there behind you. Ah, you should have got the
Love it. Soft
fucking
lob.
space dust, whatever the fuck else stuff that I don't know."
No, yeah,
Just
you went with your heart. You went with your.
And I don't think that's alcohol crime. I think that if anything, that's me. That's me taking it back for the people.
It's a protest. Yeah. This is clearly a protest photo.
The people's beverage, Smirnoff Ice Smash screwdriver
flavor. Is there any vitamin C in it? You think?
I don't think so. I don't think it had any.
Has some.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's yes. I don't believe there's any vitamin C.
That is what that is. That's called.
That's called doing the right thing.
I thought.
Yep.
It's doing it was a tall can.
When you brought that up to the register, was the person behind the register just like, what?
No, I did. He just we were getting a bunch of other stuff because we needed coffee and
he snuck it in.
Yeah, it was just like here's a bunch of
coffee
and some coffee filters and some coffee sugars and some other stuff there, and then there's a Smirnoff Ice Smash, and he did card me.
Awesome. What are you wearing? 2 masks?
No, that's just one mask. It has flippies.
Sick.
That flip up and down. Today's the day they have reinstituted the mask mandate here.
We're back, baby. Yeah,
we're back, baby. In this county and several others around here, they've been like, nah, shit's bad again. Sorry, people fucking suck so much shit. You all got to wear masks again. Like, good.
It's fine.
Bombcast.
Do it.
Yeah, we're knocking it out of the park. Number 1 with a bullet. That's how it's basically been going. We got a zillion people here. This is there's a full pack. There's no room for any more people on this screen. Jeff Bacalar is here. What's your favorite flavor of Smirnoff Ice Smash?
Probably the flavor of it getting poured down the drain is the flavor.
Well, I'll tell you this. That's what I did with about half of that. That's what I did with about half of that.
Hey, at least you made it halfway.
Yeah. I got halfway down and I was just like, I'm just going to get a headache if I finish this. This isn't worth it. And that's just...
Well, you live, you learn, right?
Exactly. I would buy it again. I would definitely buy it again. Danny O'Dwyer, someone suggested that I should buy some Buckfast instead, but you can't get Buckfast in the US, and I was wondering if you wanted to go into business with me becoming the world's leading Buckfast importers to North America.
Well, I mean, I know a guy who's going to Ireland in about a week's time. That's me. So maybe I don't know. That seems like a bad idea.
The old bootleggers just hide it in a false panel in the suitcase, and Boss Hog won't find it. And
I'll come home and all of my kids' clothes will be covered in fortified monk wine.
I think that blesses them. I think that's like a holy thing, right? Yeah. Like that's
it's a baptism.
Look over the suitcase and give it one of these, and
a bucktism. I think what it's called.
Yeah.
What a way, yeah. Can I tell you something I miss about the mask stuff? What I've realized is that this is just me, but I've realized that over the course of the past year, that my inner monologue, when I'm thinking to myself, I now talk to myself, and when you're wearing a mask, no one can tell. So I just walk around talking shit all the time. And like now when I'm not wearing a mask, I'm like, fuck, man, I can't just talk to myself anymore. Like,
you can.
Shit. I know. Well, that's why I wear a mask anyway. I'm just going to be like a Sub-Zero for the rest of... I'm going to be such a weird dad. My kids go, why are you wearing your mask? It's been 10 years, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm just having to... checking in on myself over here.
making sure I'm okay for me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm broken.
The dirty South. Oh, the new king of the dirty South, Jason A. Stryker.
That's me.
Here.
Yes.
Making it
Welcome
happen.
back, bud.
How's it
It's
going
it's
down there?
hot.
Welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Fresh out of the hospital. I'm back though, and we're
Nice.
better than ever. I'm
broke
just
out.
I'm just short a toe, but we're fine. Everything's okay. I just got to
They give you
relearn how to
10 of
balance
those.
myself. Yeah, they give you 10. I've got 9 left, so I'm good. I think. Who needs 10 of anything?
How much did they give for you for it? What was the value?
The value?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They did tests on it afterwards because it was all infected and stuff. And
That's going to impact the
I
value.
haven't heard back yet
Okay.
on what it's worth. Yeah,
Well,
it takes a
welcome
while.
back. We're thrilled.
Well,
that
thank
you've,
you.
Made it back in front of our faces, in front of these webcams. So
I'm happy to be here.
yeah.
How's the internet down there?
It's great. I got fiber.
Oh,
That was
fiber's
actually-
everywhere, man.
Yeah, that was a requisite. Like when we'd scope out houses, like I'd actually punch into like AT&T. Hey, do you have fiber here? No. All right, moving on.
That's the sweet
we
spot,
eventually
isn't it? It's
found-
finding like a place that has like a low low rent but good internet.
Right.
It's like the dream.
The Goldilocks
Yeah.
zone. Hell yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the real golden ratio.
Pretty much.
Nice.
Pretty much. Jan Ochoa is here. How
That's
are
right.
things going in your wonderful world today, sir?
I'm not pressing the buttons to make the show go today, and I'm panicking and I'm getting fidgety. This is what happens when I ride passenger seat in a car or an Uber. I just get fidgety and it's like, can I drive the car, Uber man, please? But
Yeah.
they never. I always get kicked out when I ask that, so it's a bummer. Otherwise,
Yeah.
things are. I baked a cake.
I
Hell
saw
yeah.
this cake on the internet. The frosting on this cake looked pretty good.
Let me tell you, I absolutely
frosting.
hate cream cheese frosting. When I used to work at the cupcake shop, I'd come home smelling like cream cheese frosting. It'd be on my pants and everything. Terrible time.
Sure.
Delicious.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
When I made it for the cake, it just brought back like a flood of bad memories of people
Oh, no.
stealing my tip jar, people like scamming other customers of their debit cards. Someone put like one of those the little card reader things to steal your
Skimmer?
information on
Yeah.
a skimmer on our card reader for a little
Oh,
bit.
What?
It was great.
Is it an
It was
inside
great.
job?
Damn.
Is that like, did someone
No,
work
it
there?
was. There was a dude that would come in all the time, and he'd be like, "Hey, can I just get one strawberry cheesecake cupcake?" And we're like, "Yeah, no problem." And then he'd always like linger around the card reader, and then after a while, we kind of got some complaints, and I looked at the card reader and pulled off a little thing. Guy was skimming some info.
Wow.
God damn.
Did he come back in to check on it after it had stopped working, or did he know that like the block was hot and you got to just fucking move on?
Oh, he kept coming in because then he moved from the cupcake shop to the ATM next door. And I think he would like pull a 20 out of the person's account and then like, I can't not sell this guy a cupcake. I got a cupcake quota to make for the day, y'all.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
I guess I would help him take money from people.
I
don't
believe
know.
it's legal. I believe it's called aiding and abetting at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
See, but I don't know for sure. This is maybe a conversation I'd heard with him and his friends. Really nice though.
Huh.
Really cordial.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
You got
know,
it.
The nice
most of those
criminal.
people get their money back. It's insured. The federal government insures the bank accounts, the credit card companies.
Yeah, it's a victimless crime. It's just
Exactly.
like the
More
plot
people should be
opposite.
stealing from credit card companies. What are we
Yeah.
doing?
More
maybe
cupcakes
I
for
can.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I can't run for mayor after all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you got too much. You got
Which
too
he-
much going on in your history. They're going to dig that up and be like, "Is it true that you were running credit card scams at a cupcake shop?" You'd be like, "Well, no." But
Not intentionally, but
Mm.
they promised
He
if
tipped
I
well, at
made the
least?
quota. Yes, he did. They promised
Okay.
if I made this quota, I would win a GoPro, and I never won the freaking GoPro.
God
Oh,
damn.
so sounds like it was all worth it, Jan.
yeah,
No, none of it was worth it. And
buy your own
I'm
GoPro.
dead
with their
set
money.
that place. Yeah, that's true. I'm dead set that place was haunted.
Haunted
Anyway.
cupcake.
Anyway,
Ghosts make good cupcakes. This is just a fact. Jean-Luc of GameSpot fame is here, actually running the boards. How's it going over there?
He's our Uber driver.
Yeah,
Good. I'm checking my blinkers, keeping everything in check. I think I might, maybe just swerve into the off lane just to scare Jan a little bit.
Got any balls of water?
spice it
Got any
up.
balls? I'm thirsty here. I'm
we
parched.
sing like a karaoke
Yeah.
or like you got one of them Nintendos hooked up to the seat TV.
Yeah, I have an old GBA in the back. There's
How long have these mints been here?
I don't know about the battery life. There's an empty cup if you need a pee. 'cause
Okay,
I'm
great.
stopping.
That's full.
That's
you got a
just
second one?
hospitality. Nice.
That is full
No, you have
service
to
right
share.
there.
I'll
Yeah,
just
for
piss
sure.
into my Smirnoff Smash.
Too late. Too late.
Already full of piss.
You guys
Hasn't
know they
even
make
opened.
kegs for Smirnoff Ice.
Kegs. Wow,
Yeah,
that seems.
No.
Kegs.
there was a party when I was in college. My neighbors, they were like, "We got a keg," and I was like, "Oh yeah, what for?" And like, it's Vermont, so it's we got craft beers and all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And they were like, Smirnoff Ice, and I was like,
Whoa.
okay.
I don't even believe that a liquor store did that to a keg. I refuse to
joke
believe.
keg.
How could you even? Yeah, that's a joke keg. Just confetti and
Yeah, they had it in the
sparklers gonna
back.
come
They
out
didn't
of
actually
that.
think anyone was gonna buy it.
Get out of here.
Was that the only
Wow.
keg they had there? Or was that like the stunt keg, second keg? Like, oh yeah, there's kegs over here that they were using to trick people.
I think it was the only keg. I don't remember there being
That's
another keg.
dedication. That's
That's
dedication.
so
I like
weird.
it.
It's like it's
Not
July
a party
4th, we're
ball,
out
not
of
a pony
kegs.
keg. Just a. All right.
The only one left is that Smirnoff Ice. No one's won it since 2004.
That's a lot of Smirnoff Ice.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting iced with that?
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's
You die. You just die.
like, oh well, my insides rotted out, but it was very funny. Yeah, I don't. I would still probably rather drink Smirnoff Ice than pretty much any of these craft beers.
Yeah, you say that, but you've really don't worry. There's a care package coming your way, buddy.
Okay, is it got
that's
any
a
Zima
threat.
in it or something nice? Can we get like Captain Morgan's Gold, something that's like out of print? Like you can't find that anymore.
Nope. And I
Oh,
just
man.
promise me you don't pour it down the drain, because that's the ultimate disrespect. I had to wait outside in the cold
Okay.
at 4 a.m. to
Cold.
get these. Yeah,
All right,
to get
all right.
it was freezing.
July.
last month, and to get these highly in demand IPAs. Okay, so don't do me dirty here.
And he sent them
Okay.
to Jeff.
Sent one to Jeff
Okay.
of each kind.
So does
I feel
IPA
like-
get better once it's been rattled around in the mail for a month? Is that what you?
No, it
Does
does
that
not.
get rid of the sediment? The sediment at the bottom, right? Gets all the dirt out.
No, well, you really should be rolling your cans before your consumption. You got to roll those cans a little bit, give them a little twist and shout, and then you're free to enjoy. But please, you're gonna like it, and then I don't know. Then the world will become undone. I
All
just
right.
I hope you're able to admit it. Is all.
Keep
I
rolling,
will
rolling.
certainly try it, and I will even go in with an open mind.
What else can I ask for?
Yeah, I will give
Speaking
it a go.
of just because Dollar Store Fred Durst there was just saying rolling. Has anyone seen that?
Wow.
Has anyone seen that Woodstock
Danny,
'99
have you earned
documentary?
that right yet? Have you earned the right to do those kinds of things just yet?
I mean, I'm a contractor. You can just cut that umbilical cord whenever you want. It's right there. Just
After thinking about that long and hard, I've decided, fine, you get one a month, but that's it.
Okay. When I called you Dollar Store LP, that was off air earlier, so that was my one. That one didn't
I'll
count.
take that. I
Yeah.
don't.
Okay.
The fucking Fred Durst looks like fucking bad grandpa.
I mean, have you seen Fred Durst lately, though? Like,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
his,
He's
I don't
blown
want
up.
that. I don't
his
want
new
that.
look
There
looking
was a
like
time
he
The
watched
Fisher
the
hash.
Sabotage video 5 times and went like, yeah,
those
yeah,
guys look
I can pull that
real-
off.
yeah.
Have you seen that Woodstock '99 documentary? Apparently, it's just like the absolute worst thing ever created. They try and
I've
blame
heard a lot about it.
they try and blame Limp Bizkit for the Capitol riot, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got to check it out.
No one ever made one about 94? Wasn't 94 like the mud one? Wasn't that like
No,
real
that-
cool?
That was 99 was the one where they stopped doing it, right? That was the one with the fires and the stage got there was the big was there a riot during the Limp Bizkit one, and there was one with Korn and DMX and all that sort of stuff.
That sounds like 99, not 94. 94 was 94 was like the mud one that was like
That was the Green Day mud thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not. That one was not violent
messy.
per se.
Yeah, it just seemed dirty.
Yeah. And then 99 was the one no one talks about. Yeah.
And then I was the one at an Air Force base where it was like baking hot and there was no shade for miles.
Right. Perfect.
Everyone went. Yeah.
Who would have? What else could anyone possibly need at a concert? I'm sure it worked out fine. No, I have not seen the documentary, but I did see all the pictures and I have not listened to the song yet. But I guess Limp Bizkit played a new song. I don't know why we're even talking about this. I have never actually liked Limp Bizkit. If anything, I would say at the same time, though, I am more amenable to much like with these IPAs. I am approaching Limp Bizkit with a more open mind now, and going like, I hated it a lot then, and maybe it wasn't worth all the time I put into it back then, because like they're just kind of whatever, and music doesn't have this type of dumb aggression anymore, and it's probably for the best.
I miss it.
It's like, but it's like think about that time. And it's like all the stuff that was happening right around that time. It was the high point for like fucking dumb suburban white kid rage, like that impotent dumb bullshit of like Limp Bizkit and Eminem and CKY and Jackass and like all this stuff that you just look at now and just go like, ugh, they really catered to a highly specific type of fucking hair bleaching motherfucker around this time, didn't they? And I was bleaching my hair right before that started, and so like I'd feel
you were
like
a
now
dirtbag
when
before it was cool.
Yes, exactly. I was just a fucking dirtbag doing my thing, and it just the like bored suburbia vibe of that whole thing that you look at now. And now like, so I don't know, like now there's a new Jackass coming out, and there's a part of me that's just like, that's the dumbest, but like at the same time, like, I would maybe see it. I would maybe
the trailer
see,
made
I
me
would maybe
sad.
See. Yeah,
well, Bam's not involved
In
because
what
he's trying to
way?
kill Jeff Tremaine, apparently.
Yeah.
right. Yes, after like he refused to go to rehab. Apparently, they kicked Bam Margera out of it. And
Jan, in
wow.
what way does it make you sad?
It's like the last hurrah for those dudes. I think they're throwing in the towel finally, type of deal.
I mean, yeah, like I think just from a safety point of view,
Well, yeah. Like also
you know,
like those
Johnny
dudes
Knoxville,
like have moved on, you know.
Yeah.
Johnny
Steve
Knoxville's
Ozo.
acting.
Popular podcaster now.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's good that they have like this kind of weird send off, or whether it's a send off or not. Like, God, maybe they'll just end up doing more, right? I mean, that's the problem
Get
with
the kids
Hollywood,
to
right?
do it.
If a thing makes money, yeah, you do Jackass the Next Generation or something like that. Like, where's that? Where's that
Whole
fucking?
generation of concussions and
It's all like Disney Channel kids. Get all these Disney Channel kids and have them fucking hit each other in the nuts and fucking
Yeah.
push them shopping carts off of cliffs and stuff, and just like, here,
Up
go
the
out there,
ante.
fuckers. I love it.
oh man.
Anyway,
Well, you said you're into Limp Bizkit now. You like the new song or something?
I have not
Is
heard the
that-
new song. I would not say I am into Limp Bizkit, but I am more open to the idea of Limp Bizkit and Korn than I
Korn's
definitely was at the time. At the time, I was like, "This is fucking." I am pissed listening to this. I am going to break stuff
Good.
like this record player.
Yeah, that shit never spoke to me.
Yeah.
Oh man, stick it in my veins. It
It's
never
just-
died.
Yeah,
the
I
party
don't
never
know.
died.
I don't know
It's
where
just
with that.
it's weird that stuff is having a resurgence over the last year or two that you just see, and it's like a lot of people in their 20s and stuff being like, "Yeah, man, no Korn." I'm like, and I was like, I don't. What? Really? Is that?
I don't know if I like.
Is Limp Bizkit your Beatles? Is that what's happening here?
Oh,
No,
God.
don't.
Oh my god, dude.
I don't even
Cliff
like
on
the
Limp
Beatles,
Bizkit.
but that sentence.
That sentence was the most fucked up thing I've heard on this podcast.
My favorite thing about Limp Bizkit is that they, at their most famous, they were the worst. When they like their first album, that $3 bill one with like Counterfeit and some of that sort of stuff, that was pretty good stuff. Nobody knew whatever. All that Chocolate Starfish stuff was just absolute garbage.
And people
so
ate it
I'll
up,
take
and they
your
were
word for
fucking
it,
blowing
Dan.
up boats on MTV Spring Break, and just like it was a time when that type of fucking bullshit was like celebrated and put on a pedestal and had money thrown at it. And it's fucking
Fred Durst was just like a right person, right time guy, right? He had charisma, and he just somehow managed to get in everywhere.
If Fred Durst didn't exist,
guess.
like pop culture would have had to, like he would have just been formed out of something and existed that way if he didn't come along naturally, right? Like that's the culture was just so heading in that direction that there was no way we did not get a Fred Durst like figure out of this stuff. And I guess like, hey, you know what? Fred Durst seems like he's okay. He seems like an okay guy. I think
He shouts out he shouts out his friend Ben Stiller at the start of a song. What a stand-up cool dude.
Well, great. Yeah, everyone loves Ben Stiller.
There's always a red hat. There's always a goatee.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's why Ken Levine hasn't put out a game yet. He's waiting for the world to shift in a way that is amenable to the story he wants to tell.
Right.
And now that Limp Bizkit is back and making, new music and stuff, he's like, yes, now the time is right
Finally.
for me to
BioShock 4 confirmed.
my
Biscuit
magnum
verse.
opus.
Jan, don't you have something you want to talk about, Jan?
Yeah.
Before we
Yeah.
get into games here.
Before we get into games, I got a gas break dip out of here. But before I do that, I wanted to announce another new show coming soon here to giantbomb.com. At the tippy top of this, we had like a little interview pop up with Jordan Olds to tease and explain Albumer.
You said
we're
it
still on the
sorta
fence
right.
how we're supposed to say it. Albumer. Album.
You could say it like
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the show I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about how I have somehow conned a professional voice actor to sit and talk with me about the Power Rangers. And John Luke, if you could throw up the graphic whenever you got it.
he's throwing it up.
Is it?
Is it there?
Here it comes.
It's up.
Oh, it's up. It's up.
Okay.
I want to introduce Armed and Rangerous. My my buddy Matt Shipman and I. Matt Shipman, there is a good chance you've already heard his voice. He's been in literally everything, and that's not an exaggeration. He's been in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Attack on Titan, My Hero. He's even in Genshin Impact. And him and I bonded over the fact that both of our brains are poisoned with a love for the Power Rangers. So what Matt and I are going to do is we're going to go through the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the first season. We're going to do 4 episodes per podcast episode. The first 2 is just going to be Matt and I. We're planning on trying to get guests inside the Giant Bomb
Audio
family.
cut out.
And,
Oh no, there's no
Audio
audio.
cut out.
It's back-
When
it's
the
back now.
graphic went up, it's back now.
Is that-
Okay.
Apologies
Sorry.
about that.
okay.
We're behind, I know. Okay.
Ranger
we're
announcement, Jan.
playing.
I'm so sorry. You should
No worries.
here. You take the controller. I'll. Please.
Wait, is this the keyboard? You're driving this with a keyboard?
Anyway, I don't know how much I have to re-say, but Matt Shipman, voice actor extraordinaire, been in everything. Him and I are going to watch 4 episodes of the Power Rangers each podcast episode. We're planning on releasing 2 episodes a month because he's an insanely busy person. And Jeff, as you know, watching a show for a podcast is an insane amount. It takes up an insane amount of time.
Yeah, it's weird. You would think like, oh, of course you can watch 5 episodes of a show in a week and do that every week, but it doesn't take much to throw some monkey wrench into that, and then suddenly you're like streaming episodes of the show in your car while you're driving to work, and that's not a good way to do any of that. So yes, every 2 weeks is probably the smart way to do that.
Yeah. And we're trying. Oh, they didn't hear anything. Oh gosh, we'll figure this out. We'll figure this out in
It'll
post.
be in the archive.
It'll be in the archive. Yeah, so we're gonna watch through the first season of the Power Rangers, and I think the different twist on this is that Matt and I have like an intense, weird familiarity with the Power Rangers, and like it's stuff we grew up with, and I think both of us can bring different perspectives in it because I've worked in production. Like I remember being a PA on like the 2015, 2016 Power Rangers movie and being like weirded out that like it's a weird kind of full circle. Matt Shipman, once again, is a voice actor extraordinaire. And it turns out there's a lot of voice acting and dubbing going on in the Power Rangers that I did not.
You didn't know? You couldn't tell?
Oh yeah.
As a kid, I
whole
did
show?
not know. Well, like they're jumping, dude. Let me tell you, the original source material, Super Sentai Zero Ranger, it's wild. It's wild. And yeah, Matt and I, we love the Power Rangers and wanted to revisit it. And let me tell you, we kind of go way too deep in the analysis of some of this. And I was a little worried that like, oh no, these episodes, they're only going to be 30-40 minutes long. People need hour-long podcasts at least. And then the first episode wound up being 2 hours. So
There you go.
There you have it.
It just happens, I think,
It just
with some of that stuff where you're just like, whoops. Yeah. Sure.
And then, Power Rangers, it turns out, not to spoil any of the stuff we wind up talking about, but it's something I would totally show my future kids because, diversity, lessons. Minus if you like, they say it's not a happy coincidence, but it's an odd coincidence that they wound up casting like the Asian actress as the Yellow Ranger and the black guy as the Black Ranger. But other than that, that wound up just being like a coincidence. And, we'll wind up pulling info and storylines from the later seasons that we're familiar with. The comic books go really deep. The series of movies also. And trying to drop in some freaking Super Sentai facts as we're going along. And yeah, that is Armed and Rangerous. Shouts out to Dan Auer for this fantastic logo.
Terrific.
Like, wow,
Hell yeah.
look at that.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Now, and is there a date for that? Do we want to tease a date? Is that just coming soon?
Tomorrow, baby, 9
boom.
a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Daylight Time.
Daylight time.
Daylight time.
Tomorrow.
Yes. Tomorrow.
What is a new feed, new podcast feed? Or are you just going to drop this on the Beastcast feed? Not tell anyone.
We might separate it eventually out into its own podcast feed, but for now, it'll live in the premium podcast stuff. The first episode will be free since that's how we're doing the rollout of all of these new shows. And that will be on the Giant Bomb Presents feed as well.
Cool.
Armed and Rangers,
Fantastic.
and I got to go edit 5 million things.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
All right, brother.
Gee, Jan, thank you.
Bye, Jan.
Fun with editing.
Goodbye. There he
Then he
goes.
froze.
Oh, you got to leave that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Nice. So look forward to that hitting tomorrow morning. With that, why don't we talk about some video games?
Why don't we?
Why don't we talk about some video games? Video games are too hot. We just gotta get into it. Don't even have enough time for the whole music to play. Halo Infinite.
Don't tell me you got access. Don't tell me you got in.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, you did too? Did everyone?
I didn't. I was so.
I
I
didn't.
didn't.
Okay. Just Jeff. Okay.
Well, then I guess I'm the only one who played it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they ran a weekend, and I didn't even get to play all of it, unfortunately. So they ran this technical test over the weekend. They started on Thursday, kind of a late rollout. They were like, it's going to be out like Thursday afternoonish, and that got into the evening because they kept finding server bugs and all this other stuff. So it was they had to deploy some fixes before they could get the client out to folks. They put it out on Steam, which is
Oh, weird.
Whoa.
interesting for a Microsoft. It's like Microsoft Tech Test. They basically gave people a Steam key, or
They can do
Infinite.
that?
Yeah, they can do that. Which I wonder if that's just like we give up on the Windows 10 store. The Windows 11 store is going to fix it, and we'll eventually do more stuff there. But like, hey, let's just put this out on Steam. It's very easy for us to deploy there, and they're selling quite well on Steam. You know, like Microsoft's games end up in the top sellers on Steam, which is weird considering you could just get Game Pass and not pay those fees. But hey, you know, some people are very set in their ways and all that sort of stuff. And obviously the Microsoft Store experience has not always been amazing. Anyway, Halo Infinite, they put out a multiplayer focused tech test, and for the majority of the time, it was just players versus bots. And when the thing first launched, it was just one map. And so most of the time I spent playing it, it only had one map available. So I kind of got 5 or 6 matches in there. I think it seems pretty cool, and I wonder if Halo fans like it. I need to go look and see. Like, I don't know what the wide reaction to it has been, because I came to it feeling like, wow, they've really continued in this direction. I feel like since 343 kind of took the ship, and Bungie went off to go do Bungie things, Halo has moved in a direction where they're like trying to make it a little bit faster, a little bit snappier, a little bit more, which then gets perceived as a little bit more Call of Duty-esque. And this feels like it is maybe the furthest in that direction, where it's running, it's aiming down sights. I mean, I suspect what they always did in the past is like they made it so aiming down sights doesn't actually improve accuracy. And I don't know if they're still doing that, but it's the default control scheme seems to be a Call of Duty like control scheme. They've got a legacy one in there for if you kind of want the more Halo style controls, and so it's an interesting set of changes. And people in the chat are now saying that they are Halo fans who love it, which is interesting because I feel like the last several years have been people saying like, I can't believe they're making this more like Call of Duty. Why are they ruining Halo? And to me, this feels like they finished it. They finished the transition into making it like Call of Duty, and people seem to be way into it. Which, okay, that's cool.
Does it feel like, as somebody who's played a lot of Destiny more recently than either of those, where does that land? Does it feel more Call of Duty-ish than Destiny does, or is it in the same sort of?
I think so, at least, but it's from a control perspective. So when I play Destiny, I set the controls to be the Call of Duty controls. Destiny by default has different controls, and I changed that once years ago, and it's been like that ever since. And so it's and by that I mean, you know, you are clicking the stick to run, you are and you are hitting the left trigger to aim down sights and shoot. But like other Halo games, if you get hit while you're aim down sights, it'll pop you out of it and stuff like that. So it feels good. The movement is snappy. At the same time, the time to kill and the general kind of, I feel like, movement and floatiness that you kind of expect from a Halo game is still there. And so it's like they're kind of splitting the difference there. And I think for me personally, I think it's like I'm more excited about it than I was with the past couple of Halo multiplayer games, where it's like, okay, this is again, they've kind of adapted that control scheme without taking out Halo stuff. It's still the weapons. It's still you're holding multiple types of grenades and flipping to your spike grenades or your plasma grenades and that sort of stuff. It handles equipment fairly elegantly in terms of picking up things on the battlefield and using an overshield or using a active camo or deploying big barriers, big energy barriers that pop out and stuff like that. And it's like a 4v4. You know, obviously, I think the full game is going to have, you know, it'll have vehicles, it'll have the bigger maps. So like that's the stuff I really want to see, because that's going to be where Halo lives, right? Is let's jump in this Warthog and go cause trouble. And so that wasn't in the 2 maps that I got to see. Didn't have any of that. I'm not sure if they did any testing of maps that did have any of that stuff, but I don't think they did. And then by the end of the weekend, they actually opened up actual player versus player multiplayer, not just the bots. They turned on a new playlist for a few hours just to let people actually play against each other. I really wish I was around for that, because I would have loved to have seen how that went, because the the bots were fine, and eventually they turned up the difficulty of the bots, and the bots were adequate, and like, okay, yeah, these bots can kill you, that's for sure, and stuff like that. But it doesn't felt like very tight maps, like the 2 maps that I played on Live Fire, and I forget the name of the second one. You know, these tight 4v4 maps, and just really snappy action. Like I just it felt pretty good across the board. And I definitely came away from it going like, yeah, the core of this seems sound. I want to see what they do with the larger maps and all that sort of stuff, and the vehicles and all that. You know, like to see when they turn it into full Halo, like what is that kind of.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about, because I know the thing that perked my ears up was when you're like, this is kind of Call of Duty.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh, okay, now you're talking my language a little bit, because I am fully admit I love the COD multiplayer is my shit. But not having the PvP stuff, I feel like doesn't tell the whole story. So I mean, that's a big part of like that experience, right? Where you're like, is it as hardcore and competitive in or does it have like the room for that, and does it mirror the same things that Call of Duty does? I'm curious to sort of check out and find out.
Yeah, I mean, Halo has been all esports stuff for years, so
yeah,
I expect that's something they're at least keeping in mind. With like the Halo Championship Series and all that other stuff for sure. So yeah, I mean, I assume that they're going to look to go down that road. You see a lot of the trappings around the game too. So I think the thing to remember is that Halo multiplayer is going to be free. As a separate product from the campaign. And so that test was, it had a battle pass in it. It had plenty of opportunities for cosmetics and spots for cosmetics that are just like stuff that they really haven't done with Halo before, like, announcers, and they've give you a little AI buddy, which I don't know if you actually ever see the AI buddy in game, but it has its own unique shape. And then that AI buddy talks. It's doing the map control stuff that people back in the Quake days used to have to keep in their head. Like, hey, in 20 seconds, that rocket launcher is going to spawn. So I need to run this loop and go do this and go do this. And go do
cool.
This. Like it's literally like, and you'll see icons pop up like, hey, in 20 seconds, a sniper rifle is going to spawn here. And so your AI will be like, oh, the sniper rifle's coming soon. Like that type of stuff. And some of the different voices have different attitudes and tones of voice and stuff.
And answer packs common.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So you can configure that. And so, yeah, assuming that they do full packs for that sort of stuff as well.
What was the performance like? I know it's a beta and it's on the PC, so it's not exactly a great test for how this thing will run on consoles either. But what was it? Did it feel like it was
fine? Yeah,
it didn't feel like it was like pushing any boundaries in terms of fidelity, or
I mean, I don't. It looks fine. Like, it looks nice and sharp. The texture quality is good. It's always hard to tell with a beta like this because sometimes they'll ship lower quality textures to keep the download size down and stuff like that. And so I only played on PC. I didn't see what it ran like on console. And I will grant you that my PC is I spent a lot of money on stuff, and so I ran it on a 3090 and it seemed to run fine. You can set the max and minimum frame rate and stuff like that. I see some people saying that they had trouble with it, but that ran fine for me. So
but like nothing to write home about graphically.
No, not really.
Did the job.
But it's always hard to tell because, again, with the map size, the maps being as small as they are, you're like, oh, that's a really good looking Spartan. It's a really neat looking texture here, or this map here, or the way this weapon fires, or when you zoom in with this scope, the scope view is cool. Like you get a sense of the art and the fidelity of the art. You go like, this looks nice. I like what they're doing tonally. I like and even the music, I think, plays into that. I think like the music in that thing, there's not a ton of it, but it updates the kind of Halo stuff, I think, in some nice ways as well, that kind of helps contribute to just the overall presentation of it. But in terms of just like, it's got a ton of features. I saw some people saying looking like running it on 21.9 screens and stuff like that, and they've got support in there for that, and that's cool. and it has like a ton of different accessibility options and various graphical options. I kind of just set it to ultra and never looked back, and it seemed to be running at or above 60. Like it wasn't like screaming, it wasn't 165 hertz or anything like that, but not optimized, all that other stuff. So kind of hard to say what it means for the final game. But they've done Battle Pass stuff in the Master Chief Collection for a while now, and they do it a little bit differently, where the Battle Passes don't expire. So you, instead of like having 90 days to unlock all the stuff, and they're like, you didn't get to the top level, go F yourself. Like they keep that stuff in there, and so you'll be able to acquire multiple Battle Passes and work on them all kind of.
That's cool.
Yeah, I guess simultaneously, or it's like when you level up, you choose which reward you want. I think is how it works in Master Chief Collection. It's been a while since I looked at that. A bunch of story stuff leaked out because some cutscene descriptions were in the files, and so I have not seen that stuff. I would not be opposed to seeing it because I'm not like a big spoiler averse person, but that stuff is out there.
Oh, look, they found the story. It was buried in the code the whole time.
I think it's johnkeyparty.avi was the file.
Right. So. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, so I guess, people probably need to be aware of that for the next handful of months, because that stuff's going to be kicking around. Hey, I have not seen the story, so I don't know what it is, but it's hard to imagine. Like, it's John Halo goes and finds a new Halo and then, shoots a bunch of stuff, right? Like I'm hoping that there's big new enemy factions and all this other stuff, because I feel
finish the fight. Jeff.
Yeah, and also you finish the fight. Yes.
Oh boy.
There's also I think there's like voice lines that from the announcer that were hidden in there that was relating to Battle Royale. So
yes.
Kind of pop back up again. And
Battle Royale. Yeah. We'll
chicken dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. What does Master Chief get when he wins? You win, and now your suit's gonna suck you off. Like, what's the voice line there?
Jesus.
That's canon. Fuck, it's not actually canon.
I believe you.
But it's people assume that there was something in a book, or people maybe just made that whole thing up. I never actually did track down the origins of it, but for the longest time, there was very much the suit jacks him off. It just does that. It's just you're a Master Chief locked in his suit. Like, of course you're gonna have needs. Of course they're gonna do this.
He's not locked in there. He's locked in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they update the suit from time to time. Can Master Chief survive outside the suit? That's a question. Like, or do they need to put him in a fucking Vegeta tank when they're replacing his armor? I don't know. I don't want to know. Like that's there are some franchises where I want to know all the lore, and some franchises where the games are fine for me. Like Balan Wonderworld is a great example of this. I love Balan Wonderworld, the video game, and the story there is enough. I don't need it to. You don't need
to know how Balan gets jacked off.
Exactly. No, I see it. It's the Tims.
I didn't know. I mean, it's not a surprise that the conversation around John Halo would devolve into, how's this guy getting off? Right? Like, I understand that's like a logical
I think it just
question.
like it made its way around the internet long enough that people started taking it as fact, that it was like that was in one of the books somewhere, because I think the books went so far down so many rabbit holes of like child soldier this and that does the suit crank him off? Like, I guess, I don't know, maybe.
You thought the flood was like a bunch of little like slime aliens.
Yeah, that's what happens if he doesn't. You got to make sure he's getting drained, because otherwise it's a flood.
Jesus, Danny.
I don't.
You can take it too far.
Welcome back, Jason.
Yeah,
Good to be
Things
here.
got weird while you were gone.
Yeah, I guess.
I would love to see, this finally be the time that just a lot of different Microsoft franchises work their way into, because this multiplayer is now, I think we were just talking about it last week, right? That like all multiplayer in free-to-play games or season-based games all trend toward absolute ridiculousness. Because they have to sell skins and keep selling skins, and they're like, I don't know, anime, I don't know, what about a Rob Dyrdek skin? Let's go. Like just they keep pushing in that direction. So
what do you want? get the Forza car in the
I want a
Halo.
Bloodwake. I want a warthog Bloodwake skin. Make it look like a boat from Bloodwake. I want my cameo.
Ooh.
I want to look like cameo.
Blinks
in
the
the
time
Spartan
sweeper.
armor.
Oof.
What is what a Sea of Thieves pirate boat person? I don't know. Yeah.
The rich lore of the Microsoft universe.
Yes.
all
Yeah.
coming
Exactly.
together.
Yes. That car
It
from
goes on.
Forza. You got Forza in there.
What Bill Gates in it? Wasn't there a John Carmack skin in Quake 3? I think.
There were, I believe there were some. They put out
Was it
developer
Todd Holland's
skins
head
later
one?
or something.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there was John Romero's head was inside the end boss of Doom 2.
Right.
So there was always that. But
Clippy.
yeah, and people
Halo.
saying like, hey, also the guy from Doom, popular Microsoft
Oh yeah.
product Doom.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Get the Target Earth Halo ripoff guys in there.
Yeah, there you go. Something good.
Get the main character from Arx Fatalis. I'm trying to think of
finally,
obscure
yes.
Bethesda.
Put the
properties.
Terminator in Halo.
Right.
I mean, they'll
Do
probably
it
do that
now.
anyway, right? There's some marketing crossover.
Arrow in the knee guy.
Commander Keen.
Everyone's
Could be an
favorite.
announcer pack. Yeah.
The lady from Wet. Put Mickey Rourke in Halo as an announcer.
Jane
Oh,
West, I
God.
think her name is.
Isn't that
Jane Wet.
Eliza Dushku?
That was Elijah Dushku.
Was it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
In Wet?
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it be Eliza Dushku? They should put the Rogue Warrior. They should put Mickey Rourke's Rogue Warrior. Just
Demo
those
Dick?
lines. Don't get him to come back in and yes, exactly. Yes. Dick Marcinko. Get him in there. And then you're just, as you're killing people, it doesn't say steak-tacular, it says April Fool, motherfucker. Like all that other stuff. And that hot Bethesda jam.
Wait, they could
that's
just
where the
put
money's
John
made.
Carmack from Quake 3 in it. Now that I think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Sure.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you? Go all the way. Anyway, that's I think Halo seems cool. And I hope the campaign is good. I feel like they spent a lot of time over these past couple of games setting up a ton of stuff about how Cortana is sick in the head now and we've got to save her, but I have not seen the leaked story stuff, but I don't know that I don't think the story necessarily hinges on all of that stuff. I could be wrong, but I was made to understand that was maybe not the focus of the game going forward, but I don't
Good.
know. I don't know where they're at with it.
they've beaten that drum, and it was always like a poor man's showdown anyway. So just move on. Do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Rampant Cortana. I feel like that's something you just resolve and keep moving, right? You're like, oh, we got her back. Great. Or we killed her and great. Either way,
Patched her.
either works. See what else is going on in video games. The Ascent. A lot of people talking about the Ascent. Jason, you played some of the Ascent. What do you?
Yeah, not a terribly, I don't know, long amount. I probably a handful of hours. I just got a new gun, which made things pick up significantly. You start off with just this like 6 shooter, and man, is it kind of slow. But yeah, it's a top down, kind of a twin stick shooter. It's oozing with like cyberpunk aesthetic. It controls well. It looks
it's
really
kind of
good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a Diablo. Like it seems like it's going for more of like an action RPG thing than just a straight up shooting thing. Danny, you played some of it too, right?
Yeah, similar. That's after a couple of levels, I was kind of like, oh, that's what this is. It's. I'm not sure if the loot is quite there with it, but there is a lot of collecting stuff after you kill sort of swarms. Like you go into a new room. There are no rooms. It's all just continuous. It's. I think, like Jason said, it's the graphics on it, like because of the isometric angle, like the camera work is actually pretty clever. Sometimes it kind of swings around a bit, but because of the sort of I don't know, the scale of cyberpunk worlds, like you're in like factories that are just sort of immeasurably large and like cities that are built like super, super high. And because of the like isometric angle, you're often like looking down at these sort of like beautiful vistas underneath you or big mechanical things, and all that stuff is like, that's the reason I've been
Really
enjoying
well
it. I
done,
think is it's super slick. It's also on Game Pass. That's worth
So
mentioning.
I heard the PC Game Pass build is missing a bunch of options and stuff that the Steam build does have for like
What?
like DLSS or like just some kind of options. I don't know if they've since patched it, but I streamed some of this last week and started from the beginning, and it seems like I feel like a lot of people are coming around on the idea that like the beginning of the Ascent is not great. I played, I don't know if it was like 45 minutes of it or something. I felt like I was like kind of getting done with the first set of quests and like, okay, this game is potentially going to open up here, but I've got to go and play something else, or then the stream's over, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone back to it yet, but that introductory first half an hour or so I thought was so boring. Because you're not really messing with the skill tree or really equipping much in the early game. And so I don't know, like, I guess that's my question for y'all is, do you feel like it opens up or gets, do you also feel it starts slow, or do maybe I just not like the Ascent?
No, I definitely think it starts very slow. Like I said, you just have that one gun. It's bare bones as far as the armor. They barely go into the skill tree or anything like that. But yeah, once I got a new gun, like an automatic like Uzi or something like that, it picked up significantly. And then I started getting cosmetic items for like armor and shit like that, and then you level up and you can start assigning skill points into various trees and whatnot. So but it took a while. Like it took a couple sittings for me. Like the first couple times that I sat down with it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm into this, but it's Game Pass, so I'll give it a shot. What the hell? But
yeah, it feels like a good fit for that.
Yeah,
like the Game Pass thing. Like, cause
maybe it's a game I'm definitely eager to get back into it.
Yeah, I guess but that can probably cut both ways, right? Because like in a Game Pass type scenario, you might be just as likely to go like, I don't need to suffer through this early part of a game that I'm not liking. There's like 20 other games I could go play. So I wonder how that'll work out for it. That's the thing. Like you talk about impact of Game Pass on game development and stuff like that. Are people going to be further incentivized to make sure their game starts with a bang, just to try to rope people in early?
The bigger sell is because it has 4-player co-op. So like,
that is something.
Trying to convince someone to like, hey, you want to buy the Ascent? And like, I don't know, but like, you're on Game Pass. Because I was playing it with my partner, couch co-op, which is pretty fun. We did have to stop because their save got deleted, which is a bummer.
I hear that's a bug going around. I hear that's going around a little bit.
So we were like, well, I guess we're done playing the Ascent, or we'll come back later. But it is a bummer because we were enjoying it. I do think the co-op, and like whatever, co-op always makes every game more fun, but I think it makes the combat more interesting because you can like kind of kite enemies in one direction, and you kind of spec out your abilities in different ways. So personally, I think
split screen, or is it all in one?
All in one, which does make the camera a little weird sometimes, like especially when you're moving like down. Like I feel like the camera's not keeping up with you, so it was like, all right, I can't see the enemies at certain points, but for the most part, it was not too bad. You do have to do weird things. Like I imagine this isn't the case with online, but like if you want to go menus, you have to do like, all right, I'm gonna stop, and you're gonna use the menu, and then you take turns, and there's some weird bugs with that too, where like she would go into the menu, but then suddenly her control would stop working, and I could control the menu for her, which was weird. So there was some game seems kind of a little buggy.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think co-op is like the way to play it for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll probably get back into that a little bit just to see if it opens up a little bit more. Quickly, I also played Huntdown. Has anyone played Huntdown? It's been out for a little bit. It was on the Switch, I think, first, and
I've seen it.
Sounds familiar.
Very intriguing.
PlayStation?
That style.
I see it.
I may be on other consoles now. I thought it was just Switch and PC, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, okay.
it's so this came out, yeah, so this might have been a game that came out on Epic like a year ago and just made its way to Steam. I think it's one of those.
Okay.
And I messed with this a little bit, and it is cool. It is a retro style side scrolling shooter in a kind of, you know, Blade Runner-y, cyberpunk-y kind of thing of, you know, you're a bounty hunter trying to, you know, basically work your way through a level, kill a bunch of guys, get to a boss, kill the boss. That's your bounty. Move on to the next one. And there are a billion games that do this, but I feel like Huntdown does it so well that it kind of stands out. And it does a specific thing where I just wanted to say, hey, the audio in Huntdown is amazing, and it sets the game apart in a way that it feels like they are trying to make a new old Sega CD game, because it's got these kind of that visual style of just, hey, it's a 16-bit-ish side-scrolling game. You can only shoot to the right. You can't aim your gun around like these fancy newfangled video games, Contra, you know, the new ones. And so like about a bunch of specific design choices around that, but then it's got all this speech and a lot of really great music that sounds funky in a way that is like it's redlining and then being crushed back down, or like it's hard
Awesome.
limiter or whatever it is. So but the whole thing just has that sound of like, it feels like I bought a Sega CD game or like a TurboGrafx CD game or something, where it's like, it's just your run-of-the-mill 16-bit video game, but we put all this voice in it because we have a CD to work with, and that's what we thought we would do, is put a bunch of funky Red Book audio in there, and it's just got a cool soundtrack and cool speech, and there's a wrestler boss in it that is just a guy doing the worst / best Randy Savage impression. Like, it's just, he's literally just going, ooh yeah, as he jumps around. It's just like they're not fucking hiding anything. It's not like they're one step removed. They're just going for it, and I guess I appreciate that, in the same way that it was cool in Revenge of Shinobi when you had to fight fake Batman. So
it's worth
Looks
mentioning, thanks to Permanent Sign in the chat, it is on sale for 50% off on the PlayStation Store right now, which I'm going to take advantage of.
Okay, so it did make its way to other consoles. Okay, I
Yeah,
just
it's listed
saw.
as a PS4 game.
It was last year.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. PS4.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like it's also on
Little
like
over a year
Android.
ago. Really?
Yeah, it's on iOS and Android as well. So
We got
Xbox. It's on all kinds of stuff. So crazy.
Neat.
Anyway, Huntdown's really neat. It really, the audio stuff really stood out. And I think it's kind of getting another shot at some kind of public recognition, because I think it did just come out on Steam after like a year or so of not being there. I think that's
Cool.
Or it just did well in the last sale, and that spiked it up in a bunch of algorithms, and that's why I finally remembered that it existed. Who can say? Danny, you played some of the ramp. I wasn't aware of this until you tweeted about it, and the ramp looks badass. Tell me about the ramp.
Cool little, very small little game. $5 on Steam. Just launched this morning. Might be
They're
like
calling it like a toy,
$4.
instead of like a game. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, it doesn't really have objectives, Jason. It's kind of just like a neat little thing to faff about with for a little while. It's like a interactive screensaver or something. No. It's basically you start the game. There's a brief tutorial that like basically you have to rewire your brain for how you play skateboarding games, because it's essentially a game where you are in like bowls or mini ramps and you're pumping. So anyone who's like ever skated in like a vert ramp or tried to do mini ramp stuff, the whole idea of trying to carry momentum as you are going up and down ramps while you're like tricking out, or if you're just trying to like get around a bowl or whatever, it's like the opposite of what you think if you're doing normal flatland, where you were trying to basically like use the time that you're on a curved surface to get momentum for the parts that you're not. So in this, you have to basically like hold. It's as important to hold a button as it is to release it at the right time on the ramp. So it's about like creating flow. So it took me a minute to like get into the control scheme of it, but then basically it's just like a game where you are just chilling out. It's cool music. It's isometric. The camera's locked. The level's locked. It's just you on a screen jumping up and down. This the tutorial level, and then I think 3 maps. There's like a bowl, a trickier bowl, and then a sort of a mega ramp with a
Invert.
vert ramp on the end of it. Yeah, and it's just cool. And like the only objectives of note I've realized is just trying to get specific tricks done, or there's some achievements for some of them. So I just wanted to do a 900, and I got one, and it popped up Birdman for your little achievement in the corner.
Nice.
But it's cool. Yeah, it's super chill. It's cheap and cheerful. I'm enjoying it, and it's definitely like a different style of skateboarding game as well to your Tony Hawks or Ollie Ollies or any of that sort of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds cool. I don't know. That's my problem with Session and some of the other stuff that came along in the post skate games that came out last year or left early access last year, is that they just were short on objectives. And it was very much like we just assumed that everyone's going to want to get their own footage and edit the stuff together and make fun videos and share them. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but like,
and it's funny because I do play those games that way. So I never like, although if you know, the new Tony Hawk games, of course, I played them through as objective games, but I have like a decent amount of hours probably in both. There was Session, and what was the other one called again?
Skater XL.
Yeah, Skater XL. So both of those I've played a bunch of, but that's how I tend to play those games, is very like, I'm just going to play this for 30 minutes. And that's how I played Skate, actually, for the longest time. Was I do the objective stuff, but mostly I just wanted to be there. And especially back in the old days where you could kind of run, I guess you can kind of still do this, but you could run your own music on Xbox and stuff. So you just have that stuff playing, and you're just chilling out and doing that stuff. So it's just kind of like that too, but it's way smaller
and all that shit on there. That'd be dope.
Yeah. I want to break stuff, and then
Biscuit. Fuck yeah,
get all my middle class rage out on the mean streets of
solo stuff on there.
Of course, that made me angry for lots of different reasons. So
yeah, Baby Hugh Hef, all the Fieldy hits, all the Fieldy's hits. Awesome. And
Kid Rock.
Backlor, you're sticking with Death's Door. How's that been going?
I love Death's Door. That game is so, I don't know what it is. It's speaking to me. I feel like I hit a portion of that game that now, the older I've gotten, the more that I've realized, like, there is a certain threshold where if I'm not committed by that threshold, I bounce off. And I've passed the barrier for Death's Door, and I'm going to see it all the way through. It's a big moment for me. Thank you. And I'm super jazzed. I feel like when we played it on UPF, we didn't take enough of a moment to stop and smell the flowers. And when I say that, I'm talking about the music in that game. Music in that game is something else. And it is, the leveling up, the upgrades in that game. I feel like there is such a fine line and a very difficult balance to aspire to when you're doing that kind of thing. And they are not. It is not a super complicated upgrade path in that game. You only have a basic set of things that you're kind of leveling up, and those feel very impactful and very powerful. And yeah. I'll say this. I do kind of wish that game maybe did something in the way of giving you a map. I get all turned around sometimes depending on the area that I'm in. Earlier on, there's there's sort of like the pot. It's the pothead, castle that you're sort of wandering around. That for the most part is semi-linear. But then a couple areas after that, you're in these sort of like jungle ruins, and man, I've just been doing a whole bunch of like circling the drain and kind of trying to figure out where I am and wrap my head around it. But I love it. I don't know why exactly. I think it's got a really satisfying kind of loop. Maybe it's that kind of cycle that is super rewarding and satisfying. But
like the combat looks really good and just like rewarding from like you time it well and you just get in there and do your dirt. Like it seems cool.
Yeah. I think Danny brought it up last week, comparing it to like Souls, bosses when you encounter those. And for me, I mean, this is kind of giving me confidence to maybe go back to a Soul sort of thing, because relax, Danny. Okay, we'll just chill out for a second. Let me finish. Let me say, I know the tattoos.
Get it,
but
do it.
But like, it's giving me maybe this false sense of confidence where I see an enemy. It is much more forgiving than a Souls game for sure. But there are parts of it where I'm like, oh, I'm learning this in maybe 3 or 4 deaths, and then I can progress and sort of, beat this boss. So it's just doing it for me. And I love the everything about like the crow character. You don't know much about this crow, but it's like so kind of cute, and it's got his dumbass little crow mannerisms and stuff like that. And you're just like, I'm falling in love with the crow. What can I say? But yeah, it's pretty great. I'm loving it.
Nice. That
I really want to try
definitely
that.
Yeah, it's on my list for sure. All right, well, that's gonna do it for us talking about video games. Now let's get back to what really matters. No, we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back and get into the news. How about that? Let's talk about erect penises. Sometimes they come in handy. Sometimes you need one. And what if you can't get one? Well, there is potentially hope for you through the mail, because this episode is sponsored by BlueChew. BlueChew is making waves and bringing more confidence to the bedroom. BlueChew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients that are in Viagra and Cialis, but it's a chewable form, and it comes at a fraction of the cost. These tablets are here to combat all forms of erectile dysfunction, helping you gain extra confidence for when it's time to perform with your penis. If you're looking to conduct a penis performance with your own penis, then I hope you are listening, because this is all for this information for you to use. BlueChew is an online prescription service. You don't need to go see a doctor, talk to him. We're like, my penis doesn't do the thing I want it to do. When it's time to do the thing it needs to do the thing. For fucking. And then the doctor goes like, oh, for fucking. And then writes a bunch of notes down, and then you're like, oh, geez. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to wait in line at the pharmacy and go up to the pharmacist and say, I'm here for the pills for fucking with. And all that sort of stuff. This just comes to your door in a discreet package. You don't have to interact with folks. It's all online. It's all online. You just sign up at BlueChew.com and you consult with one of their licensed medical providers. Once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. All online. BlueChew's licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength for your prescription. And if you don't like swallowing pills, there's no problems here, because BlueChew's sildenafil and tadalafil tablets are chewable. You just chew them. Just chew them and make it happen. I think that's a rhyme, right? BlueChew's tablets are made in the USA. They prepare and ship direct, and it can be cheaper than a pharmacy. So, if you could benefit from a little extra confidence when it's time to conduct that penile performance, when you're trying to conduct the orchestra, when you're trying to get out your conductor's wand and conduct the orchestra to the satisfaction of everyone involved, in an ideal scenario, then it's time for you to visit BlueChew.com and get those details, as well as some important safety information. And hey, there's a special deal right now. Listen up. You can try BlueChew for free when you use this promo code. It's Bombcast. Use that at checkout and you'll just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code Bombcast, to receive your first month for free. Wow. BlueChew is slinging deals and erections. This is a can't miss situation as far as I'm concerned. Check it out. See if BlueChew is right for you, and go to BlueChew.com and use that promo code Bombcast, and you can receive your first month for free. Dang. All right, we're back. And now, how's about we get into the news? Okay, let's see here.
Let's go, newsman.
There's been more movement on the Activision situation. If you remember, they have been sued by the state of California for and then from there, a bunch of really nasty shit has come out, particularly around Blizzard and the kind of frat boy culture that is said to have been running there. The most recent updates in that story are that J. Allen Brack, the president of Blizzard, has stepped down and will be replaced by Jennifer O'Neill, who was running Vicarious Visions for a lot of years. You remember Vicarious not that long ago was brought into Blizzard to become that Diablo team or whatever. So now Jen O'Neill is taking on that role alongside Mike Ybarra, who had been there running BattleNet. And was formerly of Xbox. You know, he did a lot of stuff on Xbox Live and that side of things, came in to run the BattleNet business and to run product. I forget what the specifics were. Two of them will be splitting the responsibilities of that role. And let's see here. There's a statement that Blizzard put out. Just, you know, it doesn't really get too into the specifics, obviously, because they're fighting a lawsuit and still saying a bunch of, fairly heinous things or fairly tone deaf things, I guess, is the accurate way to frame that. That's how the employees of Activision Blizzard have framed it. But basically it's saying, let's see, both leaders are deeply committed to all of our employees, to the work ahead to ensure Blizzard is the safest, most welcoming workplace possible for women and people of any gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or background, to upholding and reinforcing our values, and to rebuilding your trust. With their many years of industry experience and deep commitment to integrity and inclusivity, Jen and Mike will lead Blizzard with care, compassion, and a dedication to excellence. Meanwhile, Activision is also retaining law firms that are, primarily known, or maybe not primarily, but are known for helping companies avoid unions forming on their turf and stuff like that. Cool. So, yeah, there's, Brack put out a statement saying, "I'm confident that Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra will provide the leadership Blizzard needs to realize its full potential and will accelerate the pace of change," and so on and so forth.
Excellent. All better. There it is. Done and dusted, baby.
And I guess a separate announcement on the investor relations page, according to Kotaku.com, says that Brack is leaving to pursue new opportunities. Sure, I guess that's one way to put it. Kotaku also mentions that Brack is one of only two people that were explicitly named in the lawsuit from California. The rest of it was just kind of aimed at those two people, Brack and Alex Afrasiabi, and then the rest of it is just aimed at Blizzard at all. They did a walkout last week about a bunch of employees, and signed some open letters and stuff like that, talking about some of the various things that have gone on over there. One shareholder has sued over the harassment. Sounds like some stock prices might be slipping. This looks like something where maybe they might try to go for a class action on that front. But we'll see. And it looks like sponsors or a sponsor has left Overwatch and Call of Duty League in the wake of this. I don't think T-Mobile has given a firm statement on this, but it sounds like, according to Kotaku as well as Dextero, an esports site that is reporting on this, that players that are on one of the teams that had a T-Mobile logo on it had to tape over their logos.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it sounds like that there's some slight bit of reckoning over there. It's hard to know. We're not on the inside over there, but was this a step in the right direction? Or is this
a shakeup at least? Yeah.
Yeah, it's something. It's something, but it sounds like that there's still a ton to do across that entire organization. I mean, you still got was Fran Townsend, I believe is her name, who was the former Bush executive, the Activision executive, former Bush administration person who went and tweeted something out over the weekend about how like an anti-whistleblower sort of sentiment article, and then when Activision employees started calling her on it, she just started blocking them.
Yep.
Oh,
It's a great look.
Really
What a
down to
great
earth.
look. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a very in touch, very
wow.
just this. What a great sort of person that you want to have. You
Person
know,
of the
at
people.
of executive level of your company. What a fun place to work. I'm sure. It really. They have, you know, obviously a lot of fucking up has been happening over there for years, but I feel like the response to this feels like some very constant fucking up on top of this. It's really wild how bad they are doing at this. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's a fucking
They're going to be. You have to imagine that Activision's main focus at this stage, from top to bottom, is to make this go away as quickly as possible. So if they feel like they can chop off one of Medusa's heads, and they can say, hey, we did the thing, we're bringing in this change, it's going to be a process, we want you to be part of that process, it's going to take time, all of the
Let's
same
handle
sort
it
of
internally.
general,
Don't form a union.
Totally.
What a union? What is that? Why would you do that? We're a family here. We're family. You see Fast
Take
and
down the
Furious, they're
temperature.
family. We're family.
like, just bring that temperature down, keep so that by the time, you know, so that everything goes back to normal as quickly. It's just, and this isn't like just Activision, this isn't just games, this is corporate culture.
Every
This is how
fucking corporate
this stuff
plan,
works.
for sure.
And Ubisoft employees, current and former, also signed an open letter kind of in solidarity with some of the Activision Blizzard stuff, as well as acknowledging that Ubisoft management has not done enough to rectify similar situations there. And so
the cards are stacked so much against individual employees in this country in general, just from my perspective, and I'm not saying everything's rosy back home in Europe, but like so much so, and California especially, like the at-will nature of employment law here, the lack of like recompense for any like why aren't there a million civil suits about this? Like, because there can't be, because the way in which like contract law and stuff is brought up here. So it seems like everything is so far stacked against people at this stage that the only thing that can be done is either live with it or create some sort of fundamental grassroots change. So I know people get sick of hearing the union drum getting beat over and over again. In another place, in another time, you wouldn't need to. But these people need to.
It's
like
and it's become the only option, really. Right?
And
Like,
that's not going to fix
what
everything.
they're
That's not going to
getting at.
fix
No.
like sex pests and rapists and all of this awful crap that's been going on forever. But these people aren't scared. Like Francis Townsend hitting Twitter doesn't care. Like these people don't care. This executive is probably going to go and work somewhere else now. You know what I mean? Like, and the same will happen to her if that's the case. There's just a total lack of accountability, be it because of the sort of intense stratification of responsibility that happens where no one person is ever that in charge. Like, I guess they've decided this guy is responsible for all of it. You know, no one's responsible for any of it. And if the rot is that deep, like, how do you fix it except giving people on the ground the power to have some sort of change? Like, you can't fix these problems top to bottom.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, there are cultural things that have taken root there that you're just like, okay, you know, how do you actually, you know, pulling Brack's card and getting him out of there, like, doesn't change any, you know, maybe you get more people in charge that are going to be a little more open to fixing the culture there and all that other stuff than maybe Brack was. And I don't know where he stood on that stuff, but he's been there a very long time. But yeah, man, that doesn't make this go away. It shouldn't make this go away. If you're an employee for Activision Blizzard, like, more people that have been there for a very long time. Well, I guess Ybarra hasn't been there that long. Coming in and doing this, and you know, you've seen some people speculate, like, is this the time when Blizzard gets fully absorbed? Is that how this ends up going? Is that they've got to restructure it so hard that this is now Activision gets to just like fully embrace all of Blizzard and pull it in and be like, this is just all just Activision now. Like, just
Good opportunity to do it.
I mean,
like,
it definitely greases that, story for sure.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting listening to people for the past week, because I think a lot of the narrative around this has been on the sort of like corporate level, and that this is an issue with accountability and all that sort of stuff. But it was also interesting over the past week listening to people who have worked in indie studios where this is also, where this type of stuff has also happened, or big studios where that doesn't happen, or you know what I mean. So outside of the sort of like putting hands in the giving people the ability to form power together, outside of that, obviously there is also just a horrific. We've seen this for the past couple of years, a horrific culture of just making workplaces incredibly intense, fearful, dangerous spots for women and other people. So there's no accountability there, culturally or legally, it seems, for people either.
Yeah, it's we'll see where this continues to go. I mean, this being as high profile as it is, and all this other stuff. I mean, there's a big spotlight on all these changes right now, and it's interesting to see how many different facets of the business it covers, where they may have lost a sponsor, they may be getting sued by a shareholder. Like the pressure is going to start to come from multiple angles and not just the workers. And in an ideal scenario, that's something that gives the workers more leverage to make a real change. Whether that's through a union or like that's a great start, is starting a union perhaps. We'll see. I don't know, Activision going out and retaining a law firm that seems to be all about trying to prevent employees from forming unions. I feel like should tell you almost everything you need to know about what needs to happen next to try to make some changes there.
It's so sad that like you said, the thing that will move the needle is money, because that's why that company exists. It's a publicly traded company. That's its raison d'etre. So like that's the case, and we will be sitting here in 4 months' time, or 9 months' time, or 2 years' time, and it'll be the same thing.
Yeah,
merry-go-round.
Yeah, exactly. Like, will that be how it goes? Like, will they not form a union, and you'll just have some more executive shuffling, and a bunch of people going like, it's better now.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a lighter version of that. Seems to be how it went over at Ubisoft.
And the transient nature of this industry, like you don't people. We interview people, and then we interview a different studio 3 years later, and they're at that studio now. Like, so that where is it's the same problem. It's just like a 21st century weird problem, where it's just like, it's the same reason like communities in a lot of cities don't really foster that type of mentality where you're helping each other up. It's the same in these companies, because people if there's probably a lot of people who work there right now who are like, what's my exit strategy? Like, yeah, totally. I'm getting out of here. I mean, why would you blame them? Especially in a labor market in the games in LA, where there are studios everywhere. Yeah. So like, or there's more than most cities, right? So it's just hard. Like, change. It's like this weird little generational thing where it'll be better for a while, and then maybe some creep gets employed, and it takes a year or two for that rot to set in, and then we're back on the, it's the same old story again. It just seems like it's if the current way of fixing these things would work, we wouldn't be here right now,
Right. Like, the stuff would get fixed last time it happened, or the time before that, or the time before that, or the time before that, or the harassment training that employees get. If that stuff really worked 100% of the time, you wouldn't be there to begin with. But plenty of people slip through the cracks on this stuff, and that's not going to change no matter what happens at Activision. That's something that's much larger than Activision, much larger than games, but it's got to start somewhere. So why not one of the largest video game companies in the land? Like, if they can make it happen there, they can make it happen anywhere. So I think that's why it's a fascinating story. I mean, as tragic and as fucking terrible as it is too, that aspect of it is like, they got a shot to actually maybe do something here.
There's a lot of eyeballs on it right now.
Yeah. let's see what else is going on. Forza Motorsport 7, the most recent Forza Motorsport game, is going to enter end of life status next month.
Oh, that just
Is this a new term?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh, EOL has been around for a while. I mean, I feel like usually it's used in terms around like Windows or application software that's like, hey, this is no longer going to get any meaningful updates. We might it's on long-term support, so we're going to still push security updates to it, but we're not going to be working on anything beyond that. And then maybe eventually it reaches a time when it's like, this is just done. And so this initial announcement didn't really get into it too much, but someone on Twitter asked the Forza account why, and they actually responded and said, Forza games have to go unlisted after several years because the third-party licenses we use to feature real-world cars, tracks, and other elements will begin to expire.
Right.
Which is, obviously that seemed like it'd have to be the case here, but they did come right out and say it, which was nice. The upshot here is that the game will no longer be for sale as of September 15th. Anyone who bought the game, owns the game, it will fully function, but things like DLC and stuff like that will no longer be for sale. As a result, they've put the game on sale at a discounted price if you want to get on board with Forza Motorsport 7. Also, it will be delisted from Game Pass. And so Game Pass creates a unique scenario that didn't exist 5 years ago, where you might have people who don't own the base game, but own a piece of DLC because they're playing it on Game Pass and they're like, I want to buy some more cars.
That's crazy.
And so to make it right for them, Microsoft is just going to give them Forza Motorsport 7. If you ever bought DLC for it, they will send you a copy of the full game, a token to activate the full game outside of Game Pass once it gets delisted, which seems like it's about as good as you can handle a situation like this, I guess, without just securing all those rights in perpetuity, which would be probably too expensive.
Sucks for preservation, though, doesn't it? All that DLC, you're like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, it's if people who own it, they'll still own it. They'll still be able to download it. You'll still be able to play it. Like that stuff, you just won't be able to purchase it anymore.
Right.
And there'll be, discs for it knocking around for years to come. And, but that's like launch day, no DLC. So
it's not even that old, though. When did it come out? Like 2016, 17? Like it can't be.
There's been there will have been 2 Horizons since then because of Horizon 5 jumping on. Yeah, October 2017.
It's not even 4 years old. That's like, I know they can't have like in perpetuity contracts, but 4 years. Who was holding out?
So
McLaren?
I guess yeah, right. Who's the company throwing the wrench into this? Porsche. It's always Porsche.
Yeah.
So this would not be, no one would notice this, or it would come and go with a lot more ease if another Forza Motorsport had come out by now, which in a normal time, they were on a fairly steady loop of Horizon comes out, Motorsport comes out, Horizon comes out, Motorsport comes out. When Horizon 4 came out, Turn 10 is taking more time to reboot Forza Motorsport and all that other stuff. And so the cycle was broken, and now Forza Horizon 5 is coming out this year without a Motorsport in between. So normally there would be a Motorsport 8 or something like that would already be on shelves. You would be playing that. It would be all the cars and tracks looking even better. And so you wouldn't notice as easily that Forza 7 is just quietly kind of like shuffling off into, unplanned or planned obsolescence. Right. But now because of the way they've kind of changed the car stuff at Microsoft or the release schedule, I guess, this is now a much bigger deal because it means that the most recent Motorsport is now basically going off sale, which is a really crazy. Crazy. Speaking of Horizon Forbidden West has been delayed until Q1 of 2022. Let's see. Where did this news come from? Let's see. Okay. Bloomberg reports news of a possible Horizon delay was first mentioned by video game reporter Jeff Grubb on the podcast Giant Bomb, which I feel like we should get legal involved. Someone is out there calling a podcast Giant Bomb.
I don't know. Ring
we
a bell
should
though.
probably-
There's something.
Did you guys not trademark it?
I
Damn
guess
it!
we really fucked this up. Yes. So yes, from the most recent episode of Grub Snacks, and this was something that I think Herman Holst had even really kind of been kind of foreshadowing a little bit there. I think it was back in June that said like, hey, point blank, like just to be real with you, we want to put it out this year, but we can't necessarily confirm that it's definitely going to. It might still move depending on how stuff goes. And Bloomberg has done some digging based on the reports of this Jeff Grubb character. And they have seemed to have found that yes, the game has been delayed until Q1. Yeah. Is a reporter. I always thought he was more of a speedrunner, but whatever you want to call him.
Right, how is that early 2022 looking? Because I feel like this is
Man, yeah.
But
don't worry,
it
half
feels
those games will get pushed
Yeah, I
into
mean, that's what it is.
like April or something, and then we'll see how it goes after that. But
a lot of Q1s. But yeah, you're right. I think we'll see that stuff gonna get stratified or pushed around a little bit because we'll all be playing Elden Ring anyway. So
My brain didn't even flinch at this news where it was just like, yeah. I mean, we even said it during that debut of like the gameplay, right? Where we were just like, of course. It's okay. So
yeah. But yeah, if you're a smaller game that was planning to ship in Q1, you've now got more and more heavy hitters taking up
it's
space
crowded.
there. It's gonna I think that's where we'll start to see some of those games spread out even further. But we'll see how it goes. Hey, did you notice that it's August and they still haven't announced the new Call of Duty?
Yes.
I mean, obviously Activision has some things going on.
But this predates that. Well, not the awful shit, but the public awareness of the awful shit.
That's really weird. That's all I have for that. That's not a news story. I don't have anything to add to that other than it's, that's a game that normally comes out.
If there was ever a game that was going to suffer the most from last year's development under coronavirus, you would have to think it might be COD because of the annualized
just the breakneck pace that they have to kind of make those on. They already kind of jumped the line in a weird way by having Treyarch move up instead of like it would be a sledgehammer. Normally last year would have been a sledgehammer year, but that jumped up. So now as Sledgehammer is supposedly on deck, but now like Raven is running Warzone. So it's like their development has gotten weird on those lines as well. And so I don't.
And there's a lot of like, it's not the same as a FIFA or a Madden where you can't, like, they have to ideate some stuff, you know what I mean? Like story and also motion capture. Like it's hitting all the marks of stuff that gets messed up because of this work from home stuff. Multiple studios working together because they always have a lead, but there's often other studios, they do work sort of in that Ubisoft model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah. It's just, it seems, it's really, I mean, I just wonder where that's going to land because it seems really weird to me that they haven't formally announced it. That'll probably be something that they just do in Warzone at this point. Normally they would do it during the NBA finals. I feel like.
Oh, right.
They would start showing commercials during the NBA finals.
It'll be the MLB standing.
MLB exactly. Finals. Yeah. We'll get to October.
World Series.
Like, Call of Duty. It's out now. Wow.
When is the release usually? Is it September or do they have it in October or November?
It's usually October, November. I feel like what would be when did Modern Warfare launch?
God, what did they even do this?
Because like on Warzone, that was late October 2019 for Modern Warfare. Okay. Black Ops is a little weird because it was trying to be a launch game, so it kind of
right.
It was a little different, but
Warzone is almost like another sort of spanner in the works here because it's popular. Like it's like you don't need to put out another multiplayer offering necessarily, right? But also you're not going to sell a COD that's just a campaign.
Well, I mean they need the competitive multiplayer. because there's still, because a lot of their esports stuff runs off that, and that as well. So yeah, I feel like a lot of the kind of it's not even necessarily full on reporting, but there's just a lot of talk around Vanguard or whatever this thing ends up being, that it is kind of a back to World War II sort of thing, and yeah, just kind of hasn't, and that maybe the development is troubled, which of course it is. They all are always, even in the best of times. PlayStation 5. You heard of these things?
I can't buy them.
Yeah, well,
I've heard of them, but I ran out of storage.
Oh well, you're in luck, because the
You got
beta
a heatsink?
firmware, the beta firmware that enables M2 SSD expansions is now available, and Sony has put out a page talking about that support of putting a new hard drive into your PlayStation 5. If you're not familiar with this, basically this will let you play PlayStation 5 games off of a different drive than the internal drive. If you're using an external drive plugged in via USB, that'll run PS4 games just fine, but not PS5 games, much like the Xbox Series X does with its storage stuff. And they've put out a bunch of requirements here, basically because they just went with off-the-shelf hard drives. They just put out a spec of just here's what your drive needs to be if you want it to work, and it needs to be PCIe Gen 4 M2 and NVMe. It needs to be between 250 gigs and 4 terabytes. It should have a heat sink. Using an M2 SSD with your PlayStation 5 console requires effective heat dissipation with a cooling structure, such as a heat sink. You can attach one to your SSD yourself, either in a single-sided format or double-sided format. There are also M2 SSDs that have cooling structures, such as heat sinks, built in.
Ooh.
I feel like when I got into the heats with the M2 drive game, I was not anticipating this element of it. The
too.
first one I had was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it looks like a RAM DIMM, and you're like, this is tight. I just screw this into my motherboard and I'm done.
Yeah.
And then
A USB key.
Exactly. And then we had a main gear system, and I took it apart to kind of check it out, what was going on in there. And lo and behold, the M2 drive's all padded up with thermal padding and, heat dissipation stuff. And I'm just like, what's happening here? And now, look, it is a very clear indication that if Sony's coming out ahead of this and being like, yo, you got to keep this thing cool.
Right.
Oh, brother.
And there's also a lot of limitations around the size of the device, because in millimeters it needs to be, and this is including the cooling structure, such as a heat sink. It needs to be smaller than 110 millimeters by 25 millimeters by 11.25 millimeters. And they've just got a lot of things about, hey, these drives will work, these will definitely not, in terms of just literally fitting in the slot. 25 millimeter width is not supported, and it's a lot of stuff that has left room for the folks over at Digital Foundry to put out a list of hey, here are drives that work that we tried.
I love it. Everyone's just just wait for Digital Foundry, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out for me. I'm just looking at this list of
what is this?
Socket 3 key M. What are we even fucking talking about?
Because there's a B key and there's an M key, because it's basically the amount of divots that the interfacing side of the other side of the chip sort of conforms to. It's just a whole thing. I mean, I've come into contact with that where it's all about butts. I've come into contact with times where I've inserted the wrong, form factor drive, and the motherboard doesn't even read it. So it is a minefield with this sort of stuff. It is a very fragmented market.
I can't wait to turn on my PS5 with the case open to see if it posts.
But what this what this all does though is, and I know that's what you're probably getting at, is just you look at the Microsoft solution and you're just like, yes, that was the way to do it.
But
100%. Oh, don't butt me. That's definitely the better thing. Like,
Yeah, but like
Hard drive on that
that's-
PS4 is
there's
fast,
only
or 5.
one of those, and it's a
Yeah.
set price and all this other stuff, and it's a set size. So with these, I can get a 4 terabyte SSD if I want, and never think about this shit
Yes.
ever again.
you got to imagine though that there will be other versions of that interface, and I agree with you. The cons of having that are the fact that, like, look, you know, you take out this drive out of your PS5 one day, you use it somewhere else. Like, presumably the thing you got in your Xbox is just this proprietary nonsense that you're never going to have another use for in a million years, unless, you know, Series Y or whatever the fuck uses it.
Or like, you know, if that can I just plug that into the back of my next GPU on my Windows
Yeah.
machine so that Windows 11 can read it or whatever.
I am suddenly
Probably
feeling very nostalgic for the Xbox 360 plug and play hard drive solution.
Yeah, just throw that into your bag, drive into the office, plug it in,
Yeah.
and get back to work.
Oh,
So
the
there's-
shoe,
yeah,
the foot measurer
yeah,
thing.
the shoehorn, the insole.
Yeah.
So there's some other kind of caveats here that really start to add up. And here's the two that stuck out to me. You should carefully review drive specs prior to purchase and contact the vendor or manufacturer if you need further information. Sony Interactive Entertainment cannot guarantee that all M2 SSD devices meeting the described specifications will work with your console, and assumes no
Dang.
responsibility for the selection, performance, or use of third-party products.
It's good
they're
thing
like,
they're cheap.
hey, it might check every box on the list we posted here and still might not work. We don't fucking know. A lot of people make a bunch of bullshit out there. So, yeah, figure it out, I guess. And,
Is there going to be like one? Oh, sorry, go on.
go ahead and ask. Because
Is there going to be a like third party? This is, you know, we know this one will definitely work. That Sony are saying, like, this is our.
Not that I've seen,
Okay.
other than Mark Cerny on Twitter. I have not seen anything out of Sony that says here are the recommended drives. I don't know if they want to get into that game, that if they're like certifying hard drives or other that stuff. That might be too much of a mess for them. But maybe that's something they get into. You know, this is still a beta, all that sort of stuff. We'll see where they get to with it. But here's the other bullet point that was like, oh, well, fuck this whole thing. Not all games are necessarily playable with the exact same performance provided by the PS5 console's internal ultra high speed SSD, even where the M2 SSD device's sequential read speed is faster than 5,500 megabytes per second. So you might surpass the sequential read speed of their spec, and they can't guarantee that games running off an external will perform the same way as they do off an internal, which then what are we even doing? Because the whole point here was to try to get games to load, like the load speeds of PS5 games is one of its most fascinating features. A game like Ratchet and Clank benefits quite a bit from that tech. And if you're telling me I can go out and spend $1,000 on a 4 terabyte SSD and you can't tell me that it's going to run that game the same way, this is a mess. This is a goddamn mess. And you hope
that
this
game
is
by
just
game
something
as well?
while it's in beta there, and they haven't certified anything. Maybe they're just like, hey, we're just to be safe, we're going to say all this stuff, and maybe that eventually tightens up once more testing has been done or something. But like,
What's weird is that every other generation prior, they didn't really do anything different, right? Like, they offered a way to DIY replacing the drive. It's just that this time around, there are these prerequisites and requirements that are not, you know, 100%. And to what the point you just made, don't give you necessarily the same exact one-to-one experience as, you know, because all those drives were separate drives. They weren't on the PCB. They weren't hard, you know, they weren't mounted in a way that, you know, PS5 just seems to have like this strange architecture situation where it's like, this is also a thing you need to consider when you add one of these super fast drives.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there were cases last generation where it was like, oh, games on an Xbox One are actually loading faster off an external USB than off the internal drive. You know, like weird cases like that like you're like, wait, what? But like that's just kind of how it was in some cases then. And this is, yeah, I mean, like, I think people are right when they say, like, whatever, it's something you just do once and never think about again. And like the installation process is like literally you're screwing it in there and you're done. It's not some arduous process. I think people could definitely do it. Obviously, it's not as easy as slamming the expansion card into the back of an Xbox Series X, but it's not a massive technical undertaking to put this drive into a PS5.
If you've never seen an M2 before, I bet it's a bit scarier. You know what I mean? Because like that's
weird,
a whole
because the way you
first
have to
time
like,
doing
lay it
that.
down and screw it and stuff. Like, you know, you go watch a video and you're like, okay, I get it. Like it's not.
Yeah.
You know,
break
it's not
it in half. You know.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
Do you think that the
your drink?
I wonder if the issue that's because Sony must have known that they would have had to have had larger hard drives in the PS5 eventually. So I wonder, was the original thought that by the time they were a year or a year and a half or 2 years into this cycle that they could release a bigger hard drive version of it, and then that would be the natural way that people upgrade and sell their old machines. But because of like the chip problems, that like that's probably not going to happen for 3 years now or something, and they're like trying to pivot, or because they must have known.
It's a good question.
Yeah. I would think it's a little bit of everything, but not necessarily. I think it's probably still too early to expect like a new larger drive, because I just don't think drive prices have moved enough to make that a reality, right? So, and I guess some of that is probably, you're right, it probably is all tied into chip shortages and a lot of this other stuff. The other thing is that when you go and look up these drives on like, say, an Amazon and a lot of other retailers, the drives that are being recommended by Digital Foundry and stuff like that, they're all sold out.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's even hard to get a hold of these things, even if you want, you know, like, even if you wanted one today, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to get some of these. I haven't clicked on every single retailer listing to check, but like, you know, that's going to be a hassle.
Yeah.
So Sony hasn't come out and confirmed that any drives work, but some manufacturers have. This is coming from Video Games Chronicle. Seagate and Western Digital are out there saying, "Hey, our drives work in the PS5." WD has its WD Black line, which that's the external SSD that I use on my PS5 right now is a WD Black, and it's fine for running PS4 games off of for sure. And they got some tweets from Mark Cerny,
with no
Sony's
link,
own
of
Mark
course.
Cerny, where he went out and tweeted about the WD Black drive, that he ended up buying a couple of those. And then it's weird that this is where news is at, but Video Games Chronicle also reported Mark Cerny liked a tweet where someone asked if the Fire CUDA 530 SSD from Seagate was a good option.
That's fine.
So that's not necessarily an endorsement, but he liked that tweet. So hey,
Likes are not an endorsement. That's what it says
true.
right there.
That's true. So we don't really know. So then yes, then you've got the Digital Foundry list. It seems like a good. It's a list of drives that they say meet the listed requirements. And they seem to have tested at least some of these, I guess, but some of them require an additional heat sink. Some of them come with heat sinks on them already. And so that aspect of it seems like it could be a real pain in the ass. And they have a separate list of compatible heat sinks. This gets to be a lot.
It's just
this gets to be a lot.
I'll just uninstall like some stuff. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
But like that drive is so fucking small. Like for me, and that's fine. Like, yeah, I'm kind of with you where I'd be like, oh, you know, it's actually not that. Maybe it's not that big a deal right now, and I'll wait for people to figure this out who are not me. But for me, the bullet point saying that you might get a drive that meets all these requirements, but it's still not as fast. That's the part where I go like, okay, well, wait a minute. You can't even tell me that these drives are going to definitely work. And then certain drives are going to read differently the more full they are. So does that become a factor? Is that the next phase of this where it's like, well, it runs great as long as you empty out the rest of the drive? Like it's pretty crazy. But that beta firmware is out there. If you got selected for that beta, then maybe you're already doing this. I don't know. Or maybe you're just experiencing, I guess, 3D audio through speakers. They added that in there. It was previously only available through headphones.
The headset.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard much about how well that is or is not working, but I believe that's in that beta firmware. And then meanwhile, the PlayStation 5 is apparently Sony's fastest selling console ever. Like, even though you can't really find them on, it seems like and these numbers would be way down because no one can ever find them, right? But apparently they sold 10 million units in 249 days, according to Polygon. And
is
it
this
took
global?
271 days to hit. That is, I'm gonna say yes. That is a global number, 10 million globally.
I wonder, like, what's going on here, because, like, between this and there's a lot of factors. It's interesting. You look into the chip shortage stuff. It's not just one thing. It's like lots of different like factors are occurring to this. Like, I wonder if like the sort of growth of the middle class in China, for instance, like the emerging markets around the world. Like, I wonder if there is just more stuff getting sold in untraditional markets, or just more in markets that weren't necessarily there before, so it's the squeeze is even tighter than before. Right. I'd love to see like numbers for the Chinese market, is because I mean it's a massive amount of people, and like economically that country has completely shifted in the past like 30 years, the past 10 years. So
that's a country that is trying to, where companies like Sony are trying to have a much bigger presence as well. So you wonder, are they serving more consoles to that region this time around? I mean, obviously they would be, because they're selling. So
like
so it's
Korea,
selling
Japan,
quite well,
and
and all that stuff. Despite it seeming like that they are just not showing up anywhere. So bots are buying them, at least. I assume bots are still buying up most of the PS5 stock and trying to resell it. I assume that's still a problem. But
bots got a game they want to play too. They want to play Demon Souls.
Yeah, of course. No, they're just waiting for the new FIFA to come out so they can set up a Ukrainian warehouse full of PS5s and really start making some money. Polygon goes on in its article to say that Microsoft hasn't released any hard numbers for the Xbox Series X, but Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, did tell investors that the Series X and Series S are their fastest selling consoles ever. And Daniel Ahmad of Nico Partners is estimating 6.5 million Xbox Series X and S consoles were sold as of June 30th. It's a firm of analysts over there. So, yeah, that's the sales story, I guess. It sounds like they're doing just fine out there, and
crazy.
I'd love to know how COVID moved that needle too. Like people who were just went that little bit earlier because they were stuck at home.
Stuck at home, and then did they maybe get like a check from the government, and they were like, "I'm getting a PS5." They try and
the vacation money. I think of all the things that.
Oh,
like,
sure, yeah, like gas money, even like if you're not driving anywhere, like gas, and like the amount of money I have not spent on gas and tolls over the last year and a half. Is,
for people who were able to keep their full-time job and still continue to get paid what they were getting paid. Yes, the savings are pretty wild, right? For someone in that specific situation. So
yeah, definitely. And that's going to do it for the news. Why don't we take one more break here, and we'll come back and check out some emails. How's that grab you?
Emails.
Oof.
All right, we're back, and now it is time to close out the show with a handful of emails. Bombcast at giantbomb.com is where you send those emails, and we'll get them in our grubby little fingers and rub them all over our face and all sorts of... Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
flush them down the toilet like an IPA. What are we talking? Oh, sorry. Send your emails.
Okay. Does that mean you're not going to start with the hockey shit talking email, or?
No,
So
there's
much
you know what?
shit-talking. I can't
No
relate.
hockey shit talking emails this week.
Wow.
That's
That's
a
how
streak.
irrelevant
One in a
hockey
row.
is.
Everyone
One
got
in
it
a
out.
row.
Everyone got it out. So
Yeah.
uh,
Summer Olympics really dominating the sports news cycle, so that's understandable.
no positive hockey emails either. Just zero discussion of hockey.
Hey,
Which
we'll
is
take what we can get. No news is
usually
getting
field hockey?
How it goes.
Yeah, there is field hockey in the Olympics. That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
Field hockey, the real hockey.
Yeah. Not that novelty hockey.
I can't stand. I can't
That's
actually
a-
stand by that statement. This,
That's a
as
thing
much as I want
someone
to talk
has
shit,
said.
it's like no one is out there saying field hockey is the real hockey. That's something
Hurling.
else.
Hurling's the real hockey.
That's why
You
they call
said
it
not me.
field hockey and not hockey. You can call ice hockey
Yeah.
hockey because it's hockey.
Yeah. It's hockey. It's great.
It's hockey.
Best.
Best defensive man in the game, Rob Blake. What are we talking about? Nathan from Tumwater, Washington. Says, what's a food or drink that you tried for
Nate.
the first time that you were surprised by how good it was?
Like
Brussels
Smirnoff
sprouts.
Ice smash.
Oh, they didn't mean like
Nice.
garbage. They mean like, did you ever accidentally find yourself in a dumpster and try something and wound up tasting good?
Every week.
It's not. You
That's a weekly
dumpster
occurrence
diving
around these
son of a
parts. Just-
bitch.
Yeah, that's
I
me.
feel like the first time I ate a Brussels sprout, I was probably in my teens because I had avoided it.
Right.
Because of like just the stigma around
TV
it.
shows, right? Just like
Yeah,
every
just
kid's
like
TV show was like,
Fucking like
"Ugh."
Michelle Tanner telling me not to eat Brussels sprouts or some shit. And then you grow up and you're like, holy fuck, these are delicious.
roast them.
Put them, roast
Yeah,
them up,
roast
put 'em
them.
on the barbecue, maybe chop up a little
Salt,
bacon in
yeah.
there, some garlic,
Yeah.
salt
Sure.
and pepper, oil. Mwah.
Turns out you
Yeah.
cover something with bacon and oil, tastes all right.
Hey, it turns out when you add fat to add to that shit, it's great. No, but even just salt and pepper, it's great for sure.
Yep.
Great. For me, it's probably Chinese food as a whole. Like my dad always got prawns. He would always get fried prawns, and that would be almost all he would get. And so, like, my experience growing up with Chinese food was that that's what you got, and I never found anything that I wanted off of that menu. It just none of it made any sense.
It all
And I got
sounded
to be
scary,
about-
probably, right? Like
Yeah, exactly. I'm just
Chow
like,
fun,
I
and
just
you're like,
I don't know what any of it is, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't.
what's
he was
crab
scared.
rangoon?
Right, exactly. I'm scared of this. I know it's
Yeah.
probably got crab in it, which I don't want. But yeah, he would just fried prawns just all day long. That's not all day long, but like whenever you get Chinese food, like that was what he was getting. And so like I'd look at that and be like, I don't want any part of that. I don't like prawns. And a friend of mine took me out to a Chinese place that is still here in town, was changed owners a handful of times and is no longer nearly as good as it used to be. When I was probably like 15 or 16. And he's like, let's go out here. We're gonna get this Mongolian beef. We're gonna get this, chicken fried rice, something like that. You're gonna try this out. Drink the hot tea. We're gonna have a good time. This is good. And we did. And I was like, oh, this is actually fucking awesome. Like this is great. I just needed someone to like guide me through that process because
Steer you
otherwise
away
it was
from the
just-
prawns. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise it was just fried prawns, and I just didn't want anything to do with that stuff. So yeah.
I was the same with sushi when I moved to London.
Yeah.
And like the first sushi I had was like from a corner Tesco shop, like shitty prepackaged like sushi. But I was like, because again, the only sushi I'd ever seen was like the time Homer almost dies in The Simpsons when they cut
the blowfish.
the blowfish the wrong way. So like I'm like, oh well, this seems like a nightmare. Like raw fish. Like I'm from a seaside town. You cook the fish. Don't be crazy. But yeah, and then having that, I was like, oh yeah, this is because I was like the seaweed was new, the way the rice was sticky was new, all the things that I was like, I don't have a fucking clue what I'm eating, but it's all right. It's pretty good. No, I love sushi.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah. A lot of seafood for me. One in particular, shrimp, turns out as disgusting looking as they are, they're actually pretty fucking delicious.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. I'm allergic to them.
Oh,
no.
Pisses me off. Same thing with like lobster, all kinds of shellfish. I have an allergy to it,
So you-
and they're so good. Like I crave lobster, I crave shrimp.
Oh, lobster.
Can you get like imitation
Yeah.
imitation lobster? Is there anything like that?
I don't
Does that
know.
work? Is it
I know you
There
can get
is.
an imitation crab. I've never
Yeah.
had imitation lobster though.
lobster? Yeah, I don't know.
It might not be great though. I don't know.
Might not be.
Right. Like I want the
Uh,
real deal. I actually had a lobster roll not too terribly long ago, probably about 5 years ago, and I had the Zyrtec with me just in case.
What does
But
it do to you?
my throat-
Just roll that dice.
Anaphylaxis. Yeah.
Oh
my God.
My throat will close up.
Was it worth
Scary
it? Was
as
it a
shit.
good lobster roll?
Yeah, it was totally. I couldn't eat the entire thing. My throat started getting itchy, and I'm like, okay, that's
Whoa.
enough.
That is
That's enough.
wild, dude. To even
dance
like
with
chance
death.
it, yeah, just
Yeah.
to do
Yep.
that tango.
It's,
Oh
it's
my
that
god,
good. It's that.
I don't
It
know
is
what
good.
food I'd risk that for. I don't think I love
Risk dying
anything
for.
in this world
Is
enough
this the same
to do
thrill?
that.
Is this the
Wish-
same thrill that people who are into autoerotic asphyxiation get?
Right,
We got to
yes.
ride that line.
Sure.
This food's good, but it's I got to ride this. There's
Nothing
danger.
ever tastes as
It
good.
sounds like, yeah,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I've never tasted danger like that. Now
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not living my life anywhere near as
Yeah.
powerfully as Jason is.
yeah. Maybe
It makes
that's
it
what you're
taste
really
that
much
better.
addicted
Right.
to. It's the thrill.
Yeah,
That's what it
for the
is.
kicks, baby, for the kicks.
Yeah, I do it for the kick.
All right, Owen, Owen.
It's
Oin.
Owen.
Yo.
Is it EOIN? Yeah, it's
Yes,
the
it
proper
is.
way of spelling it.
Okay, Danny, this is for you. You might
EOGHAN.
have already been able to.
Guess.
Who's currently living in Cork, but formerly from the Waterford city.
Yes, get in.
Gets in.
Yeah, with
Also
Waterford
known
accent
as
there.
Carrick on Sewer Metroplex. All right. Let's see here. Owen says, I'm friends with the lad who used to run the SMDF forum, the rival to Danny's message board, mentioned in last week's podcast.
Jamie, yeah, I shouldn't
My
dox
fr-
somebody
my-
on this.
My friend is definitely not, and this is his words, a petty little bitch who still brings this up anytime Danny is mentioned. I personally never took part in either of the boards, as I am a few years younger than Danny and my buddy, plus my internet at the time was muck shit. Anyway,
Oh,
I
shit.
don't even understand.
yeah. Anyway,
miss
I
home.
sent my friend the part of the podcast where you talked about it, and he responded, and I quote, "Look, my forum was cooler because you could buy drugs on it. End of story."
It's got you there.
He did, however, concede that he's right, though. It was good crack.
Yeah, crack.
Good,
Yeah,
it was good crack.
It was
Danny,
good
do you have
crack.
any
Yeah.
response to
Good
this? Is
crack.
it true that you refuse to support small businesses and entrepreneurs on your forum?
Like, hand on heart, their forum was cooler. Like 100%. They had the
alright.
cool forum. Like, I was envious of the cool forum. Ours was the sort of like the lame MySpace version, and theirs was like a little bit more. I mean, they were tied into the music scene in a way that like even my stuff wasn't at all. So like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they were all, and like I was in school with all the guys who were in both those bands, or at least a lot of them. Yeah, it was it was good. It was good times. What I love about my hometown is like I miss it a bit, and I'm going back next week, and I can't wait. Is that it's one of those spots where you'd run into someone like that who you haven't seen in like 15 years, and they'll remember that silly little thing. Like there was a good sense of playful like rivalry, because like it's the type of rivalry where like you can't take it that serious because all your relatives probably know each other, or you know there's an accountability that's there. So yeah.
The fight can only get so severe before someone's going to step in and be like, "Come on."
I didn't know you could buy hash on their website though. That's pretty good. Although
Yeah.
the stuff you were getting in Waterford in the early aughts was dirt, but probably
oregano.
just as well.
I'll ask
Yeah,
again:
exactly,
is that
yeah.
what the Goldie-looking chain would have referred to as soap bar?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta burn it and grind it up and then hope for the best.
Ugh.
Okay. All right.
I'll take my
Um,
chances with the lobster roll. Thank you.
Just don't want to live on the edge. James from San Jose writes in, This is something we talked about it a little bit. The Ascent came out on Xbox, Steam, and Game Pass. On Game Pass, features such as ray tracing and DLSS do not work. Ray tracing features are in the options menu but do nothing. DLSS is completely absent. DirectX 12 is there, but Game Pass games are historically weird with DX11, DX12 implementations. And in this case, DX12 doesn't work. On Steam, all features are present and they work. The Ascent has intense frame drops in combat, and DLSS helps heavily. There have been instances similar to this with Game Pass games in the past. And basically, like, given this is a Microsoft exclusive and possibly sets a precedent, is this a portent of the possible inequality between Game Pass versions, which are UWP, and other PC versions such as the Epic Game Store and Steam? We did talk a little bit about this. So I'm guessing that the actual answer is yes, because it's a UWP app that lives in the Windows Store. That is somehow holding it back in a way that prevents them from having these features right now, and the version on Steam is unfettered from that. And so it can have DLSS and all the DX12 stuff. And I wonder if I wonder if this is a situation that is only here until that store revamp with Windows 11 supposedly happens, because they are supposed to be fixing a lot of the problem, like basically the requirements around UWP versions of apps, which, you know, again, are if you don't know, and I'm not an expert on this, but like the UWP structure is a lot more locked down than your typical PC executable in terms of what you can do to it and do with it. And modders were very worried about games heading in that direction for that very reason. But I wonder, if there's some knock-on effect here where the UWP format is preventing them from including all the features that the stock PC version seems to have. And I'll be curious to see if this is a lasting thing, or if this is something that once Windows 11 kind of becomes the order of the day, that this is something we're not really dealing with anymore.
It's got to be like worst case scenario for them, right? Is that there's an asterisk associated with this whole system. Like they don't want this anywhere, as much as I'm sure the users don't either. Like to think that it's a sort of hackneyed version of the game you're going to get, like that's not ideal.
Want that. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess it did change where like some regular Win32 apps can just be in that store, but they're wrapped in a specific way that might still be causing a problem. That Microsoft doesn't want that to be the case. I'm sure they're not out here going like, oh, well, if you go buy it on some other service, it's going to be like the more full featured version of the game. This seems to me like something they would be working to correct, but they have spent so much time talking so much about fixing the Windows Store in Windows 10 that I have to imagine that push at this point comes alongside Windows 11. Not to say if you went and downloaded a Windows 11 build right now, it would suddenly get the right version of the Ascent, but maybe on the other side of that switch, they can start to support, have better game support in that store. I guess the Windows 11 builds have started to work their way into the standard Windows Insider tracks now. Like if you're on a beta branch, if you're on the beta channel for the Windows Insider, I guess maybe now you just get Windows 11. And I keep wanting to do it. I keep wanting to install Windows 11.
What's holding you back?
The
allergy, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like normally like 95 times out of 100, I'm the person who is installing beta firmware and just saying fuck it. But this machine, now that we're working from home and doing all this other stuff, this machine is so goddamn mission critical now.
Yeah.
For playing games on and streaming from and all this other stuff that like this
all
would
your
be the machine
audio
I would
stuff
install it on. Yeah, all this audio stuff, like everything. So if I were to hose it with a beta build or get in a situation, and this happened once or twice before, where I was running a Windows Insider build and a game didn't work right, and it was specifically an incompatibility with the Insider build. And so that's not a good way, like if I'm out here on a podcast such as this one saying, for example, Killer Instinct doesn't work on my PC, and then a Microsoft PR person emails me and says, hey, I heard the podcast, it's because you're on an Insider build. And I go, oh, fuck, right, duh, I shouldn't do that. They specifically say not to do that.
Just get a beater PC, man.
I've got like fucking 7 of them here, man. Like honestly,
Yeah,
but like
so
that's not. I want to use it. I want to use it as my daily. I want to use it every day, man. I don't know if I can.
You gotta, like, I hear you. I am that person too. The old like real wild leap of faith, hitting that upgrade button, being like, fingers crossed, whatever happens, come what may.
I found my Windows 95 build in the garage. It's all 30 floppies of it or whatever. It's just a big box full of printed
God.
manuals and all this stuff that they sent me back then, and back in '94. And yeah,
But at least you have a way to test out if it's going to work. Like you can do it, you know.
I do have another PC here that I'm not.
That,
yeah. The only the PC I was using for garage streams is not being used for anything else, and it's recent enough that it should still run it. I might need to buy. I need like the window. Microsoft pulled down their tool that says, "Are you ready for Windows 11?" They yanked it offline and just says coming soon now because it wasn't giving detailed enough answers. So just say like, "Nope, you're not ready." And you'd be like, wait, why?
I mean, can confirm that was a basically like go no go app.
They're like, we need more. Like, if they want to do all this trusted platform stuff, they need to be more specific about what the issue is. And so they pulled that tool offline and have not replaced it yet. Last time I looked, but I want to run it on this machine because I went into my BIOS and tried to turn on all the secure stuff.
Yeah,
and at some point it was like, no, you can't. You need the thing.
Really?
You might not. And I'm now wondering if I need to go buy, because for my ASRock motherboard, I might need to go buy a dongle or whatever that module is and put it onto my motherboard myself, because I don't know that the builders of this PC put one in.
I was pretty
weird.
I was pretty sure that it is. Yeah, I would imagine, and the majority of motherboards built in the last 4 years have some sort of BIOS setting. Because when I first ran that thing, it was like, sorry, your computer's 8 months old, but you will not be able to run Windows 11. Total nedgery. And then and then I did a tiny bit of research, and it turns out like that TPM thing was just called something else in the BIOS. I flipped it on, rebooted, and I was good to go. I would be very surprised if your
so would I, but also
the research,
they sell a said device. So I'm assuming it's some chip level thing I just need to go enable, and maybe that device is just for like, hey, if you're running some old CPU that doesn't support it, then we sell this external thing. But it's like that stuff's just not clear. It's another one of those things that's just like, this doesn't seem like it'll be that difficult, and I just need to flip the switch once and never think about it ever again. But because I haven't found that switch, I'm just like, ASRock. I'm just gonna say ASRock a few more times.
ASRock dongles.
ASRock dongles.
Yeah.
Is your podcast name?
There it is. Jason in Illinois writes in and says, I just drove by a Jeep Wrangler with a Modern Warfare 3 decoration on the side of it. Is this a co-branded vehicle, or did they add this to the Jeep on their own and supplied a photo? We get these every so often, and I feel the need to take the emails every time because I feel like the world needs to know, like, no, they sold these. Like, you can go get a custom Call of Duty fucking Jeep, and I so rarely see them outside of the parking lots of Activision locations.
As an owner of a Jeep
office,
every year they release, like, you'll have your standard Sport and Rubicon and stuff, Saharas, and then they will have like a Wiley's, and they'll have a bunch of other trims that you'll never see anywhere, but they make them for whatever reason. And I guess that was the one weird one they did that time, because they were nationally available is what I think. But you're right. The only place you'd ever see them is, like, if not at their office, then like in the area where people were buying them around there.
Yeah. And just, of the Call of Duty Jeeps to end up with, the Modern Warfare 3 one has got to be the bottom of the barrel, man.
It's pretty rough. You're making like a multi-year commitment with that too. You know?
Yeah.
Like unless you're just leasing it for a couple of years, like it is, that's rough.
I'm trying to see if I can find one anywhere. Yeah, we got one here. 2012 Jeep Wrangler, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 4-wheel drive edition, 29,000 for sale.
You open the glove box and it's just like bullets. It's just loose bullets.
When you turn the key, it just goes. Yeah. Um,
No, that's too cool.
that would yeah, that kind
shit.
of would be too cool.
What Jeep would you get? What would be your what game branded Jeep? Go for your Halo Warthog or like what's the
Well,
one you
would it
would
look
want?
like a full-on Warthog, or is it just a regular ass Jeep that just says Halo on it? 'Cause I feel like these are just black Jeeps that say Call of Duty, and maybe there's some internal trim or something that's different. But I feel like there's nothing. Because if it was like a full-on,
Let's imagine they go halfway there to somewhere between a couple of decals and a like a big fat bumper or
Minigun.
extension, something. Yeah.
I'm not even that big of a Halo fan, but I still
What represents you, Jeff, when you're driving down the highway? What do you want
Right.
people to think about you?
Yeah. I mean, I want it to look like just a big Adidas tracksuit.
Because you're a Corn fan.
Because I'm a Corn fan. I want the Corn edition Haze. I want the Haze Jeep, I guess is what I want.
Okay.
I want the Haze Jeep. Or the Elix 2 Jeep.
Is there 50 Cent Blood on the Sand tie-in you could
yeah,
do there?
you get into a bunch of Humvees in that game for sure.
yeah.
So that's you could do the 50 Cent Blood on the Sand edition Humvee, but I don't think I could ever drive a Humvee. I feel like that's like
No, you don't want that. You don't
yeah.
want
If
that
I was
heat.
really rolling and I really needed like an urban assault vehicle of some kind, like I could see maybe considering a Humvee, but I'm just not that. I'm just not really living that life.
I'd get like a Portal special edition Jeep. That might be fun.
Okay.
What was like GPS is going to talk like GLaDOS on that? Mm.
Yeah, it's just something kind of fun and timeless. I think Portal is endlessly favorable.
What about those
Get like
Pikachu Volkswagens? Those were kind of
No, yeah.
crazy.
Okay, it's more
That's
of
a thing. Were they yellow and
Yeah, they were yellow and had a Pikachu tail coming off the back of them. I don't know if they sold those or if there was just for like contest winners or something. They may have sold. I think they sold
I
some.
saw them at like
but
conventions and shit. Like they were being
Yeah.
carted around. And they were weird.
They definitely
It's
showed them
into
off.
the territory of. You ever see a car where they've like added eyelashes?
Yeah.
to it?
yeah. It's good luck.
Yeah, there's
Everyone loves
there's-
that.
What if you got like
There
a
are certain-
Pikmin? What if you got like a Pikmin car and you just did it like an art car and it's just like you've got grass growing on it and a ton of Pikmin all over it and
Yeah.
This is sort of entering West Coast Customs.
yeah.
A little bit.
If I could just get an exhibit edition vehicle, I would get that.
Just has a fish tag in it or something.
Yeah.
Some nightmarish. Every once in a while, I see a bumper sticker for Black Mesa around here, and I'm pretty happy about that. It's a good one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I definitely see
more
some-
often than you think.
One of those, yeah, or like the parking pass. They did like Black Mesa parking passes at one point.
Right.
This emailer says, "Hi, you don't have to mention my name. As you mentioned Project IGI on the podcast, I thought I should mention that there was a sequel announced a couple of years ago. They got a grant from the Norwegian government to make it, but sadly the studio working on it was bought and shut down soon thereafter. Personally, I have no connection to the franchise other than knowing some people who worked on it. So that's why I'm not mentioning a name.
Damn it, we could be going in again.
I know. I want to go in all over again. I am always trying to go in.
Can I tell you
knows
what?
this about me?
Now that I think about it, the sequel to Project IGI came. Well, I think there was there also a Project IGI 2 that did get released? I forget. But the modern version of Project IGI is just Metal Gear Solid 5. Like that's all that game is. It's just like a base invading immersive thing.
2003 IGI 2 Covert Strike, known in the PAL region as Project IGI 2. So yes, there was a follow up. It's got a guy on the cover. It's just his face.
What was his name? What was the Project IGI?
David Jones is the name of the game's protagonist in IGI
Kidding
2.
David Jones.
David Jones.
Welshman.
Former British SAS operator David Jones.
Brilliant. David Jones's locker.
Yep, there it is.
Grumble,
Kieran in
grumble,
Glasgow
grumble.
writes in, and says, with all the talk about Buckfast and the destruction of Four Locos caffeinated line in the US, I thought you lads might like to know that Scotland is still pushing forward and innovating in the sector. I've seen these, and I want to try these. A popular series of drinks here available in most off licenses is Dragon Soup. It's SOOP.
Yes. Oh no. Oh no. Yes.
Fundamentally just Monster Energy
Yes.
that gets you fucked. They also produce a glass bottled variety called Dragon Soup Esquire for your classier affairs.
It's SOOP as well, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is how are they can't make this.
They do. Because they
7.5.
didn't ban it over there, and so it is still made. I've seen one of the shiftiest discords I have ever been a part of occasionally talks about the UK drinking scene on YouTube, which I guess apparently got cleared out quite a bit recently, and a lot of the main players in it got banned, and a lot of videos got disappeared off the platform. But it's great if you want to see some British guy listening to YouTube videos of wrestler theme music while drinking in a hoodie, or listening to Tupac while drinking in a hoodie. And it's really just some amazingly terrible videos. And I'm very glad that I got to see some of that.
What the hell is rhubarb and custard? What does that taste like?
Rhubarb and you never had rhubarb? Yeah, guys, guys don't do rhubarb. You know what rhubarb is?
Is it like a
Heirloom?
fruit?
It's like I guess it is I guess it must. It's a vegetable. I think. Yeah. It's like
wrong answer.
You boil it. You
Very
boil
bitter.
it. It's like very bitter. So it's like gooseberries and stuff. You guys don't have that over here either. It's in the line of like bitter fruit that you just add a shed load of sugar onto. So rhubarb and custard is like a dessert back home, because you got to smother that rhubarb in something to make it taste good.
Interesting.
Dragon Soup has a lineage in my life. I do a fantasy football league with my buddies back home, and on the night of the draft last year, my good friend Dennis tried Dragon Soup for the first time. And the draft goes on for a while, right? Because we're all over the world. So we started off fine. Like, his first couple of picks were kind of a little bit out there. By the end of the night, he was so fucked up that he was just we had to kind of rush through everything before, because he was kind of like passed out on this, and he had just the most horrific season out of all of us, because we called him the soup dragon for the rest of the year, because he was just like another UK clangers reference, because it was just like hellish. Like he was full of Scottish fury, I guess, when he was making these pragmatic decisions that were going to be for the rest of the year. So be careful.
Dragon Soup is fantastic. It just looks great. The cans are nice and colorful. It still has the energy in it that the nanny state over here in America really go fucking full on. They won't let us have it. They're saving us from ourselves. I get
Do I have to bring Dragon Soup home back as well when I come home next week? I might just send a package and see if it arrives.
Yeah,
I'll just send like a care package.
They have like their influencer crew. It's called Superstars, but SOOP.
I bet they're.
How do can I sign up? Is there a sign up page? How many Twitter followers do you need to get on that?
100. You're all set, Annie.
Okay, all right, yeah. And then there's a PS here, and Kieran's email says, "Fuck nice and sleazy's soda gun Buckfast isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Box and/or broadcast in Glasgow for life, boy."
What?
So these are just now we're just like getting all the way down to regional. Like, do you want to know where the good bars in Glasgow, Scotland are? It's box and/or broadcast, and not nice and sleazy's apparently.
Well, now you know.
Now you know. This is we're filling out the Giant Bomb travel guide. When we give people directions on how to truly enjoy the world, it's going to be based on like, where can you find Dragon Soup
and Buckfast on tap.
And Buckfast. Where can you find Buckfast on tap? That's a page. That's a whole page in this guide.
Is there a concept
People need
page
to know.
for Buckfast?
Has Buckfast appeared in a video game?
Yeah,
not yet.
Great
I'm
question.
guessing. I'm not
yet is the operative word. Yet.
Yeah. Someone needs to do that deal. The official video game of Buckfast.
Get it done. I don't care if it's a Flash game.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah, mobile
Get
game.
done.
Just tick the box.
And our last email here, Vincent writes in and says, I've been on a retro games kick recently. I'm thinking of getting a Mister. I love the idea of a small, low-power Raspberry Pi-like device that can do all this perfect emulation. But what specifically makes the Mister better than another single-board computer like a Pi 4 or just a little PC? Are there any cool projects you won't see anywhere but the Mister? How many of us have ended up with these at this point? Jason, you ended up getting one, right?
Yeah, I got one. I love it.
Yeah. It's
I love my dude. I actually got rid of my Raspberry Pi. I have no use for it
really?
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've still got I feel like as I've been packing up this office, I found like 4 different Raspberry Pis. It's like they just keep showing up. Just in another
Just get
drawer.
lost,
Like,
did they?
this
Yeah,
what
they're
is
just
this, a 2?
procreating.
Okay. Here's a 0. Here's a 3. Like, you know, you just end up buying them and then go like, what am I going to do with this? Nothing. Great. Throw in a drawer. I think on the other end of me moving, I'm finally going to set up a Pi hole and see how that goes.
Shut it.
What's that? What is that? A Pi hole?
Pi hole is a network-wide content blocker, ad blocker type solution that works at basically you're setting it up as a DNS server. And so your DNS requests get blocked on your network before they go out and pull down a bunch of bad
So it has to sit at a certain inline.
Yeah, basically it's on your network and you point all your you point your router. There's a bunch of different ways to set it up, but you point your router like to basically use the Pi as a DNS server instead of your ISP or whatever your 1111s or whatever. And then it uses something like a 1111 for DNS, but also filters it through its list of stuff. I'm curious about blocking ads on a Roku. I'm curious about how well, if at all, that will work as a theoretical, because they hard code their DNS. So I will have to basically reroute that IP to force it through the Pi hole as a whole thing. Anyway, just a fun little project that I'll never have time to do, but just something I want to fuck around with. I had a Pi hole set up for a week or two. And it was just like, this is neat, but it doesn't actually.
And there's no tangible difference in your connectivity.
Well, it's only using it for DNS lookups, so it's not like all your traffic is flowing through it. It's just basically saying like if you are trying to DNS look up a server that is only there to serve you ads, it's just like this resolves to butt fuck nowhere, and you get
a whole lot of nothing.
Which breaks a bunch of mobile games that are this is the other reason why I got rid of it, because a bunch of mobile games that have you watching ads to get double bonuses and stuff. In my head, I'm like, it's going to not be able to find the ad and I'm going to get the bonuses for free. But no, the game is smart enough to know, like, you didn't fucking watch an ad, you shitbag.
You scummer.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever. I think the Mister is really cool. There's a bunch of stuff I feel like I'm waiting to happen. Like there's development on a Saturn core for it that it's just started to load a demo of the game Bug, which is very exciting. Not that Bug's a great game, but it is a commercial game, and so the idea of getting that stuff up and running is pretty exciting.
It's very close.
Yeah, great for Neo Geo, NES, like a lot of 16-bit stuff. Seems like someone might be working on 32X support right now. I'm not sure. They're kind of teasing it. Plays Wonder Swan games quite well if you're the type of sicko that wants to play a Wonder Swan game.
It's always sicko. Like that is always the word used, and like that is when I kind of check out. Like I looked into Mister stuff for a good month, and then realized like. Okay, I see what this is. I see what kind of slippery slope rabbit hole hellscape I'm entering, and maybe I just kind of like get off at the next stop and call it a day. That's kind of what it is.
They're very cool. I mean, the fundamental idea is that, you know, something that's FPGA based can run multiple instructions simultaneously, whereas traditional PC based emulation has to basically run things sequentially. It can kind of only do one thing at a time as it goes. And so the idea is that it is much more accurate to the real thing. I will say in practice, how many people are equipped to really notice the difference between the way Donkey Kong runs in MAME versus the way Donkey Kong runs on a Mister. I think for most individuals, it's going to be hard to tell. That said, I think a lot of the Raspberry Pi stuff is really underpowered, and what it is doing to the emulation scene is a hassle, because you have a lot of people who are like trying to get these PS2 games running on a Raspberry Pi and they don't run right. What the fuck's going on? And you're like,
yeah. What do you
but
think?
like some of them super do. Like, you know, sometimes you end up in a situation where it's like, oh, this Raspberry Pi can run Dolphin, or, you know, whatever it is. I am a little out of date on that stuff, but like it punches above its theoretical weight quite a bit on that side, but with a lot of caveats like, oh, well, you need to skip every other frame, so the frame rate's really jittery. But I mean, you can do it. Like Android devices are kind of the same way, where you have a lot of people crafting emulators around Android platforms, and it's a similar scenario where you've got a bunch of people that are just like, I'm running Dreamcast games on my phone and they don't run right. What the fuck is going on? Why? And you're like, it's your phone, motherfucker. Like, it's not supposed to do that. Go spend several $1,000s on an overpowered PC so that you can play 50 Cent Blood on the Sand at 4K and really enjoy the luxuries of life. You know what I mean?
Live a little.
Something good. I don't know. That's where it is for me. I don't know. The Mister runs a lot of great arcade games, and a lot of great consoles, and that stuff's expanding all the time. But I'm not going to say development has slowed. I think development is actually increased, but it's like a lot of the platforms that the Mister can handle, it already handles super well. And so the changes 2 years ago were like monumental. We were like, oh, now this game works. That's awesome. And now it's more like, hey, we've corrected this audio bug in this game. We fixed this sprite priority thing on the GBA core. We've done this, and it's stuff that you're like, that's great. Like, you're always in pursuit of perfection, and that's awesome. Keep pushing in that direction. But it's like the patch notes aren't always like these big drops of like, oh my God, I can't believe it does this, the same way it might have been like 2 years ago. So, but that's good, because it means it's like a more mature platform that is just better at more shit. So yeah, they're cool. They're cool. I recommend looking into it. And that's going to do it for us over here
podcast
at the Giant Bombcast. Thanks everybody who wrote in. Again, bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address to send in your emails about your favorite place to drink in Scotland. Or other things. I mean, you can write in about you could write in about video games if you wanted to. I mean, I'm not, stop you. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Don't be afraid to share your love for Frozen Sport. You know,
or
you
message
can do
boards
that too.
in the southeast of Ireland. There's no limit to
That's right.
things.
Yeah. Yes. We are all on the no limit tank here.
Yeah.
It's us and Mia X over here. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Giant Bombcast. So everybody, stay tuned. We love you. Armed and Rangerous debuts tomorrow.
Ooh.
Come back, check that out. Other stuff
Albummer as well.
Albummer tomorrow as well. It's a big day. It's a big day right there.
Double
It's big
feature.
Wednesday.
Yesterday,
Big
you had
Wednesday.
Double
the,
feature.
a very online show as well.
Yes.
Was yesterday,
Yep,
right?
that'll be coming Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
So much,
A lot of stuff.
so much stuff. New
A lot of stuff. I'm
episode
gonna hide
of
under my desk.
Born is out
That's
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week for the Giant Bombcast. Take care, y'all. See you soon.